What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint edition of the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast. We just got done watching the Greatest Royal Rumble. Might not necessarily be the greatest one, but it was a Royal Rumble at the very least. It's Friday night, a little bit earlier than we normally do these kind of things, so we're actually a little bit more awake, which is kind of good, at least as far as one of the people that's going to be talking on this edition, Callum Wiggins.
Yeah, I can finally do one of these things.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah. Yay.
We also have on the line Robert DeFelice.
Hello.
Drew White.
I'm actually a little tired, so don't speak for everyone, Tony.
Well, God damn it, Drew.
Ah, gosh darn it. Oh, yeah.
If I was going to speak for everybody, I wouldn't be introducing other people. I would just do multi-personality edition, which I pretty much do on Fanboys all the time. Joining us for the first time, Jordan Chaffiett.
Hi. I'm the first woman to appear tonight because there were no women in the Greatest Royal Rumble. So you guys got that going for you.
That's why we insisted on having you.
Yes, and also if you guys recorded at 6 p.m. all the time, I would totally do this. But...
And we promise not to treat this as like the Greatest Royal Rumbles in terms of like you'll just sit in the corner while we do all the talking. So.
No, I'll be in a different continent. You won't even invite me.
Well, Callum is in a different continent from the rest of us.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good way to start.
Right to the political.
And I, of course, your host is always Tony Mago.
Do you have a hat on, though, Tony?
Not right now.
Oh, that sucks.
I'm glad you asked, though.
Someone had to.
Nobody has no idea what the hell's going on. But if you do know what's going on, leave a comment below. Make sure that you go ahead and do that for everything else that we talk about here, because we're going to be breaking down the event from start to finish, the pre-show, all the way until the celebration at the end, and breaking down all of our thoughts, positives and negatives, whatever the hell else we want to talk about that happened throughout the night. So, first things first, the pre-show. An hour of nothing. We, of course, knew ahead of time that there were not going to be any kind of women that are on this show, so we don't have Renee Young. She's replaced by Byron Saxton, which is certainly not an upgrade. And we have Jerry the King Lawler, who I don't remember if they had referred to him as the King at any point, but he seemed like the normal King, so not necessarily an issue there. And Booker T. A little bit later on, we got joined by Jim Ross, and they just talked and talked. Ran some video packages, talked a little bit more. Ran a couple video packages, talked a little bit more. Oh, complete waste of an hour. It gave me a little bit of time to wake up in the morning, though, because I had been pretty tired. I went to bed at like 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning or so. Woke up at 10. So, that's a little bit beneficial for me to not have to work as hard on that. But this sucked.
I'm shocked that they didn't put you to sleep. It was kind of lukewarm, if you ask me.
It was a lukewarm?
Yeah, it's like not like a hot tag, it was a lukewarm pre-show. It didn't get the blood going. I was at work, I'm trying to get pumped in, because this was supposed to be the greatest one ever, So it was disappointing, and it was a snooze fest.
Well, it certainly wasn't the pre-show that kept me awake. It was the 3 bowls of Honey Nut Cheerios that I ate instead.
Yeah, I thought you were going to say 3 bowls of red. That would have been good.
3 bowls of red?
Yeah, like Red Bull.
Oh, bowls. You're pronouncing things weird today. Lukewarm bowls of red? Like what?
And wait till he gets around to saying my name.
Yeah, exactly. I'm going to screw that up at some point. You know how
What are you talking about, David?
Mike who?
Brian, I think you'll find.
Yeah, Brian.
I wish Brian was here.
That was one of the best moments. I love that. So, anybody have anything to say about the pre-show other than that it sucked balls?
Felt really awkward to me. We talked about how, like, because of the nature of the event, those front seats were mostly taken by, like, important, influential people who just sort of milling about and standing in circles talking. It just looked super awkward.
Oh, that was a running theme throughout the night. Those reserved seats for the Saudi Arabian royalty or whatever it was, they did not give a shit whatsoever. And that felt so strange to look at that, because they had nice seats, so they should have been comfortable, but they really were just sort of like, So, did you go to the latest family reunion? Yeah, what did you talk to this person about? Like, whatever, like that, check our finances. Let's look at our phones, whatever. It was like, you're right in front of the camera side. If they would have been the opposite end.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't do that because you could have hidden it so easily by just putting it under that. But maybe part of it was they wanted these people on camera, but
That had to be it.
they didn't look interested.
So that's the idea behind that is like, we want to make sure we're on camera. We want this to look like a huge propaganda piece because, believe me, we'll get into this in a little bit when we get to the intermission and stuff. But if they want to be on camera, it's like, well, we want to make sure that everybody knows that we don't give a shit about this. 'Cause it really was strange.
I know they obviously they wear a very specific garb, and that's wonderful and fine, but typically that section is filled of super fans who paid a lot of money to be right there in an array of wrestling shirts, and it was just weird for that not to be what it was. It just felt weird.
And we have a running joke in my group of friends that see all the pay-per-views together. There's somebody who's in the front row of almost every pay-per-view who looks kind of like this, realistically, I mean, he doesn't look that much like this one girl that we know, but she's a friend of ours, and we just one day, somebody was like, is that Lisa? And then it was like, no, that's a dude. And that became a running joke of just like, oh, that's Lisa in the crowd, because that guy's there all the time. It's the tall guy with the long brown hair.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so
there are a lot of regulars too.
Every single pay-per-view, we'll take a picture of that, and then we'll send it to Lisa and just be like, oh, I didn't know you were at the pay-per-view, like that kind of thing. Couldn't do it this time around, because we were like, where's Lisa?
She's not there.
Where's tall Lisa? Like, kind of thing. And it just threw me off that I'm looking around the crowd, and it's like, I mean, I made this joke, but it was like, it's the idea of like the WWE games where you just copy and paste the same character a bunch of times, and I'm sure we're going to offend a lot of people, and if you get offended, fuck you at this point. I've had 300-something episodes of this. I'm sure there's plenty of things for you to get offended about. Why are you surprised?
There's way worse things to get offended about.
Yeah, especially if you got the amount of stuff that I had edited out of different editions in the past.
Yeah, go listen to episodes 100 through 200. There's some cringeworthy moments.
There really is. So we are going to get into politics and stuff at some point. Don't worry. We've talked a lot about that already, but let's scrap on that a little bit more in a little bit. But the first match of the night was John Cena versus Triple H, a match that had quite literally zero build up. The entire build for this was somebody asked Triple H, why is there no build? And he said, we don't need one. That's the entirety of it. And that happened, I think, last night or earlier today.
Earlier today.
So it's just John Cena versus Triple H, which admittedly, they are two of the biggest stars. And if you haven't seen it in the past 8 years, it's not like you can just go, oh, this again. We've seen it so many times recently, like Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn or, any other repetitive things like that.
I would have taken that match over this one.
It would have been potentially better. It wasn't too bad. But
it was fine.
That's the thing. It was just fine.
It was good. I mean, it was exactly what you would have expected from those two.
It just surprised me that you'd saying like it's Triple H versus John Cena, because I could have sworn it was The Rock versus Hulk Hogan from WrestleMania 18.
Yeah, I can get behind that. It really did seem like a weird old school, hey, let's do a test of strength and then let's hit our finishers and I'm gonna mock your pose about 3 times.
Yeah, this was the equivalent of like two wrestlers that are so over they could literally do nothing for 90% of the match and they'll get bigger reactions than any other match during the night. It was just like, yeah, all we have to do is like do a few poses, do a few of our signature spots, and then we're home and dry.
Yeah, I mean, It wasn't really going to be one of those things where they were going to go crazy. They knew that this was the curtain jerker for a certain amount of time. All they were going to go out there and do is just be like, hey, we wrestled the first match in this Saudi Arabia pay-per-view, and kick the crowd off with some big names, get them interested, and really just that's it. And John Cena was over. That was kind of interesting, not hearing the Cena sucks thing. That's probably the most interesting part of this whole thing.
I think there was a small
weird. Sorry.
So I think there was a small section during it where I heard the "Let's go Cena sucks" part, but it was only like a small section of the audience thing to know what it was about.
Like 6 kids or something.
Yeah, about that.
I love it when Cena is Super Cena to most people in the crowd because that reminds me of the good old days of my youth.
Well, Jordan, I know that this probably hit you hard, but at the end of this, John Cena says, well, regardless of what's going on in my personal life.
Did he do that? I must have tuned out or something. Must have
You know-
been on the internet, on Twitter. Yeah, I thought it was nice that he didn't have to face an American crowd the first appearance after this whole thing.
They would have ripped his ass to shreds, I bet.
Yeah, there would have been chants about how something to the extent of you broke Nikki's heart, or I
Just
don't
Nikki
know.
Bella chants.
Nikki
Yeah,
Oh,
Bella
Nikki,
chants.
you're so fine. You're so fine. You blow my mind. Hey, Nikki.
Hey, Nikki.
Man, if they were in England, they might do that. And if they pulled that
Oh,
off,
we
I
will. We
would-
will. We will.
Please
That
do.
was
If
great.
I will cry and probably die, but cry, and that'll be the good part about it.
But at least he didn't have to, deal with that while he's presumably going through a very hard time right now. But I didn't feel any way at the end of the match. I was like, okay, John Cena won.
I mean, if we're gonna like talk about Nikki Bella and John Cena for like 5 minutes, because that's what this
Long.
podcast is all about. Yeah, that was some fake love by him. He is a song by Drake.
I don't believe that.
I believe it's like 75% true, but man, I don't
Yeah.
think he ever wanted to marry her.
I believe human beings are really good at lying to themselves. And if you both convince yourself that, okay, if we get married and then don't have a family, don't have kids, that's fine. If you both convince yourself of that, then yeah, you can get to 3 weeks before the wedding before you realize, no, she's never going to be fine with not having kids. And he doesn't really want to be married.
Yeah.
My soapbox about total divas drama.
Love dies.
Well, at the very least, we know we're getting at least another season or 2 out of it. So
I'm
Well,
looking
yeah.
forward to Nikki moving out of John Cena's house in Total Bellas and moving in with Brie and Brian, because of course this has to be what they do, right? Like, what else would you do? And watch her look for a new place and try to get back on her feet and start this new chapter of her life. I think that's going to be very entertaining.
she's got to do that metaphorical rip up the contract. I don't live here anymore type of thing.
Listen, someone has to compete with Keeping Up with the Kardashians. So when someone cheats on one of the Kardashians while she's giving birth, essentially, John Cena needs to call off a divorce for the other reality show.
That was a thing that's happening now.
Oh
Callum,
my
I
gosh,
apologize for
yes.
our country.
Oh, we've
Oh
got
my
it.
God.
We've got it just as bad. If you want to
Yeah,
watch
have
anything
you-
like Geordie
have you
Shore or anything
seen-
like that.
So
You
Keeping
seen
Up with the-
British reality TV? Oh, God.
Can I just tell you that so Tristan Thompson cheated on one of the Kardashians, and she gave birth now, but she was
Right now.
yeah, she right now. I forget when she gave birth, but it's been a few days. But essentially, the juicy gossip. There's videos of him motorboating girls in the club and all that kind of stuff, and it's
I hate people.
he's a dirty dog, and I'm just like, man. You got the hot people say Kim's the hot one. He was dating Chloe. Chloe's a mixture of both. So she's definitely be the one I'd marry out of. If we were gonna play Marry Fuck Kill, she would be the married one.
In case you were wondering how inconsequential the Greatest Royal Rumble was, this is what this has come down to.
Yeah.
Oh God, I hate everybody in the world.
That's what happens when you date someone for 3 years who loves that show. So
You just get hooked on it.
not even hooked on it. I just know all that bullshit now.
It's kind of the equivalent of when you date somebody who isn't into wrestling and you try to explain it, and then they get hooked on that, and then it's just kind of like, what do you mean that fucking Rey Mysterio lost, or something like that?
Well, my ex got hooked on she got hooked on Total Divas and Total Bellas, and she would watch that show, and I would watch bits and pieces of it. But man, Keeping Up the Kardashians is so much better than Total Divas. So if I had to compare the two,
Well, there's at least a portion of some women's wrestling talk, I guess, still going to get the Total Divas, Total Bellas, and whatnot.
There is.
Um,
A little bit.
very disappointed that they didn't do some kind of a cheap shot of just here's a quick promo for the women's evolution or something like that. They really should have, but we'll get into that a little bit, the intermission section.
I mean, At least they showed promos for the Backlash matches for the women, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And I'm really still waiting on some kind of a report about whether or not they sold merch for the women. Still kind of curious. But our second match of the night was the Cruiserweight Championship match. It was Kalisto trying to win it from Cedric Alexander, but since everybody knew what was happening, he had no shot whatsoever. And Cedric Alexander retained by pinfall, as expected. A match that not really all that many people cared about, but that's because they present the Cruiserweights as something that you're not supposed to necessarily care about, and that's not all that surprising. But at the same time,
kids did
not
get
bad.
to go lucha, though.
Some of them, it wasn't seeming like it was that big of a crowd that was doing it.
Yeah, it was just like your standard cruiserweight match. I mean, I know this is probably the wrong time to do it because, like, again, this is kind of like a big house show, so it doesn't really need to be the most outstanding match ever. But I'm sick and tired of seeing rest holds in cruiserweight matches. Like,
What would you rather them do?
Fly?
Just fight,
Okay,
yeah,
just
fly and fly the
nonstop.
entire time. You know, like what made the WCW cruiserweight so popular? They just fought and flew about the ring all the time, rather than, you know, you don't really need to have Cedric Alexander have a mace lock around Kalisto for about like what felt like 10 minutes during the middle of the match.
Yeah, that was really weird.
Yeah.
Well, let's be honest. The reason the WCW Cruiserweight division really took off is the charisma of Juventud.
Hoovy was great. I loved Hoovy.
You could certainly use him in this cruiserweight division.
That always stood out to me, though. Whenever like I was watching WCW back in the day, and it was like, oh, La Parka, he looks kind of cool, and like Rey Mysterio, he's flying around, awesome, and Jericho, he's awesome, and Dean Malenko, he's pretty cool. Then it was like, Hoovy. Okay, we're gonna push Hoovy. Like, okay, I liked him, but you know, it was kind of strange. Cedric Alexander was also being set up too with this Buddy Murphy thing. So as soon as they decided, let's not do the Buddy Murphy thing, let's throw somebody else out there, and it's just going to be another baby face, they gave Kalisto the branding of just like, you're a stall, and that's it.
Jeez, when you say stall, all I'm thinking is a bathroom stall.
He's
And that is the
Stallisto.
equivalent of this match.
I don't like Kalisto. I haven't liked him since he beat Ryback, which was the saddest. That is a legitimate thing I'm allowed to be mad about, because it made Ryback, you know.
Ryback ruled.
Dude, Ryback fucking still rules. He does a podcast with a porn star. I mean,
There's a
how is
porn
that-
star on the podcast?
Yeah,
The co-host, in fact.
yeah, the co-host. Yeah, it's
Oh, I
Phoenix
didn't know
Group.
that. I've never
Yeah.
listened to his podcast.
Yeah,
That was
I
like when he was
mean,
the pre-show stopper.
exactly. So, yeah, Ryback. I mean, from what because he has like his own nutritional line. I'm very good at this, like, you know, taking this way off topic, by the way. So you gotta get used to it. So Ryback has like his own nutritional line now, and I bet it's like, well, I've seen reviews. Reviews are pretty good. So I don't know. I'm just saying.
Did the
If anyone-
review say Ryback's
If you're
nutrition
old-
stuff rules?
I
That's
hope
all
so.
it should say.
Yeah, I hope so.
If you don't buy this, you're stupid.
There will be a Ryback still rules on the Smark Out Moment T-Public site.
There's been
Later
plenty of
today.
Ryback ideas that we were going to do at some point with our running gag of Ryback being the worst tourist person in the world. Just, hey, guys, you think I can spit to the bottom of the Grand Canyon? Like that kind of thing.
No, if you don't buy his stuff, Ryback shows it behind you and puts spaghetti down your shirt.
Yeah, because he's just that bully. Just
Nerd.
I miss Ryback. The Raw Tag Team Championship match was next after that. We had no champions going into this, and even stranger, we had a SmackDown tag team competing for the Raw Tag Team titles, which we had talked about this before. There was a potential that they could have gone with the Bar just to have it switch back to Backlash, just to confuse people, but I'm very happy to say that that's not the case. They went with Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt, and even though I'm not the biggest fan of that tandem, and I'm still kind of trying to warm up to them a little bit, it's a smarter idea here. Just keep it simple. Don't do the swerve for the sake of the swerve. And now we can move on, and hopefully, I don't know, a couple weeks from now, Authors of Pain win, because I like them better.
That was the theme of the show. Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple and wait.
And inconsequential.
Yep. That's really a running theme, is just get it out of the way, and we'll figure everything else out at Backlash, and then by the time we get to Money in the Bank, we'll have everything sorted.
They can keep those titles warm for McIntyre and Ziggler. I'm fine with that.
It's just
AOP. AOP's so good.
Yeah, this match sucked.
Yeah.
jeez.
Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah, this was a bad match. Like it's always been an issue with Bray Wyatt. He's always so hit and miss with his matches. But it's the idea of like, oh, he's woken. He's so different now. Like, is he different? He has the same entrance. He's doing the same moves he does in his matches. The only difference is he's winning matches now.
He's woken.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that the commentary team was like, Saudi Arabia does not know what to make of the woken lifestyle, because people were just sitting on their hands for this one.
At that point, somebody should have interrupted and been like, Saudi Arabia doesn't know what to think of the women's division. Just called them out on it, you know?
It's quite weird because like the best thing about the Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy connection is Corey Graves, because Corey Graves is so into the woken stuff. His commentary makes it so much better to get makes you so much more interested in the entire thing with them.
Speaking of which, commentary was pretty good tonight. They
I
were
actually really liked it.
much more relaxed than normal.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of cheap shots at Byron still, but you know.
That's 'cause it's
Byron
Byron.
sucks.
Nah,
Wearing an ugly suit.
Although I should have mentioned at the start, because I like to bury Michael Cole every now and again. In the match with John Cena and Triple H, he suggested that their first match at WrestleMania 22 was when John Cena won the WWE Championship from Triple H, when actually he defended the championship from Triple H. So fuck you, Michael Cole, get your facts right.
Well, he also said Sergeant
Damn, what a
Slaughter was
bury.
dead, so
Yeah.
he had to apologize afterward. Sorry, Sarge, I saw you the other day. The late, great Sergeant Slaughter.
I thought the same thing when he said that. I was so fucking confused.
Oh, I'm already annoyed with the whole the greatest WWE champion of all time, Bruno Sammartino. Like, let's not do this thing where he just died, so you're gonna ride his dick. Like,
You know that's going to
Especially if he's
happen.
dead, that's illegal.
You know it'll happen, though, until the next person dies. And when the next person dies, depending on who it is, whether it's
Hogan.
somebody like a Hulk Hogan or somebody like a Ric Flair, where it's legitimately in the discussion, or if it's somebody who really isn't, you know, like, I mean, I like the guy, but like Sid is not one of the best world champions ever. But like when that happens, they'll be like, one of the greatest world champions. They always do it, you know. Sammartino, at least he's got like the track record for it. But they are just kind of hyping on that.
Yeah, they even did it with Benoit as well.
for about 20 minutes.
No, for one episode of Raw, Benoit was the best.
Yeah.
Couple hours later,
Never met
yeah, don't ever
He
talk about
became
that
Steven
again.
Richards.
No, he literally was the best part of Raw. They canceled Raw. They did a whole tribute show to someone who killed his family. That's like the greatest LOL moment of WWE history. If you
No,
really
we're going to
think
get
about
to the
it.
greatest LOL moment in
Yeah.
wrestling history in a little while.
Yes. Thank you.
Man, I'm already kind of laughing about that. I can't wait to talk about that section. Yeah, so are you guys feeling Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy defending these titles for a while, or do you think that it should be, like in my case, I'm thinking I really just kind of want to move on to the next people already, but we don't have any other strong babyface teams yet.
I don't
Like-
really care how long they hold the titles for, because I really wish that they didn't make Jeff Hardy go to a different brand and have Matt and Bray stay on Raw. I'd rather all of them stay together so we can like see where that goes. But oh well, shit
So-
happens.
I was never really into Impact, or I guess at the time was it still TNA, and I don't have the history with the Hardys. Do you guys, I'm curious, do you feel a connection to this whole the broken universe, the woken universe? Is that keeping you going through this? Because I have nothing here. I have no horse in this race.
I used to hate the Hardys, and I still have. I low key still hate the Hardys. I think that they're still two of the most overrated motherfuckers ever, and they
Whoa.
don't deserve. No, they don't. They get so much credit for an okay like video package for a match, which is pretty okay. But man, those two motherfuckers are so fucking overrated. It's not even funny.
Well, you might low-key hate them, but I, Heimdall, think that they're pretty alright.
Go kill yourself.
Infinity War is awesome. Go see it. It's so much better than this pay-per-view.
I I appreciate Matt Hardy for the effort that he's put into revitalizing his career. So
Yeah.
even
I'll
though
give
I
him
don't
credit
have
for
a
that.
even though I don't have a huge connection to the character, especially in its WWE form, which is, I guess, a cleaner version, but in making it a cleaner version, they've made it so much worse. I still appreciate the effort that he goes into character and the fact that he's 100% committed to the character, like whether it's on his social media or it's like in backstage interviews or anything like that. And you got to give credit to somebody who's willing to put that much devotion into something.
It's one of the few things that TNA did better than WWE, and it's just such a flop here.
Well, look at Woken Matt Hardy is the equivalent of the Club versus the Bullet Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, remember that thing from elsewhere? We're gonna do that, but not really.
But worse.
Well, I love the stuff that during the Intercontinental Championship, I was saying, like, Michael Cole was saying, Finn Balor of Balor Club. I was thinking, well, Balor Club doesn't exist anymore. They're over on SmackDown now. So he's the leader of his
Balor
one-man
Club
club.
is a state of mind.
Balor Club
is
is
a
the
physical
audience.
club.
Well, not that audience. He didn't have his LGBT shirt on.
Oh, he definitely did not.
In fact, basic Balor. Not green Balor, not blue Balor, not Pride Balor, basic Balor.
He's just meh Balor now, and it's sad.
Which, by the way, we haven't seen Demon Balor in a while, but we have to kind of have him come out with, like, if he's going to continue to sell the rainbow-colored shirt, doesn't he have to come out as Rainbow Demon at some point?
Could have done it at Mania. They chose not to.
I'm bored. I'm bored with Finn.
I've been bored with him for a long time.
Well, I've been bored with him since he came back from his injury after he won the Universal title. He's been boring for a while, and God, I'm so glad that I was right. That when I remember last year or 2 years ago when everyone was like, masturbating over him 24/7 as if he was the next coming of fucking Shawn Michaels. That was the most annoying time in wrestling over the past 5 years.
I want to figure out some kind of joke in reference to the fact that you just said masturbating so much for the second coming. It's just not coming.
I like it.
Yeah, he's been underwhelming in a lot of ways, but we'll talk about him in a little bit too. We're still on Hardys because the next match that came up was Jeff Hardy defending the United States Championship against Jinder Mahal, which could have been a huge, huge problem. We were talking about this before. If the United States title would have changed hands, we would have had God knows what at Backlash. That would have meant the Intercontinental needed to, and I ran down that whole if this then that Jenga scenario.
Yeah, it doesn't really feel worth it now, does it?
Oh no, it was totally worth it because it illustrated the fact that I've been typing this garbage out for 4 weeks or whatever, and it was cathartic, kind of. And thankfully, that wasn't the case either. We were talking about with the bar, they could have gone with that, they didn't, and they could have gone with Jinder Mahal here, and they didn't. But they did end up fucking something up along the way. That whisper in the wind.
That was the first moment out of the night where I legitimately had to burst out laughing while watching this. And that's not an emotion I usually get watching like WWE pay-per-views. Just like literally, I can't contain my laughter. Just like, because it's a botched spot. Like he's missed the whisper in the wind. It's like, okay, just play off it. Just cover Jeff Hardy instead and just go with the flow. No, Jinder is so Jinder that he decides that, oh God, I fucked up the whisper in the wind. I have to just fall over. I have to suffer a stroke mid-match.
You know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of when you see like a toddler that can barely walk, like, like a, I don't know, 1-year-old or something like that, 2-year-old. I don't know kids. I don't know how long it takes for them to walk, but where you see them like attempt to run and they do like those weird clunky steps and then they fall. It kind of reminded me of that, where it was like Jinder was supposed to do something and instead of doing anything else, he was just like, I guess I have to fall. Like that's just the most natural thing for me to do. So thud. And it was like a good thud too. Like he almost like adamantly wanted everybody to know like, that really got me kind of a thing. It was just
I think it's probably a good time to remind everyone that this guy was a WWE champion for over half a year.
Don't forget to never hinder the fucking Jinder, dude.
Yeah, the meme is over. Jinder's time is up.
No, it's not. We're waiting for the face turn, dude.
Well, Tony keeps insinuating that that's happened.
No, it hasn't happened yet. The face turn doesn't happen, Tony, until he like comes out to save John Cena one night on Raw.
Okay, admittedly, I missed the Whisper in the Wind. I just went back to watch it. What the fuck did I just see?
Seriously, wait, you didn't even notice it first?
No, I missed it. I was in and out of the room, but wow, that was terrible.
Just like Callum, that was one of the greatest parts about tonight.
It really was, and it's funny to say that it was the second worst botch of the night.
Or the second best botch, depending on how you look at it.
Yeah. Well, I had to open up my notes.
At least the other thing was more natural.
Well, I
Jesus.
had to open up my notes during this, where throughout the year I keep track of everything for the end of the year awards as much as I can, and when like a really bad match happens, I'm like, all right, I'll add that down in my potentials for worst match of the year. Or whenever like somebody new comes into the mix of like a call up, all right, add that into the mix, whatever. And I opened up the file and I was just like, all right, I got to add this down as one of the worst botches of the year. I had to go back into it later on, but this Whisper in the Wind was atrocious. And admittedly, I don't think the match was good on top of that before and after it either. I really just wasn't digging this.
This was the most house show of all the house show matches on this thing. Because it was like
so basic.
The year was cool.
I think there's one more match.
That's positive.
There's one more match that I think outdoes this as far as being a house show match.
There's
get to that in a little bit, but
I look forward to it.
Starting with this match, there was about an hour period where I felt like this was like about as basic of just like what they were saying and how the matches were going. There was like the commentators started to like when they were phrasing stuff, I felt like they were trying to say stuff in the least offensive way for like about an hour, and it felt like it started right at this time. And it was
I didn't catch
really
that.
fucking weird.
What were they saying necessarily?
Like no, they went to the panel for like 10 minutes after this match.
Oh well,
and...
if you're talking about that, we'll talk about. I thought you were talking about like during the match that they were saying something.
Oh yeah, during this match, I can't. I wish I could remember. There's a lot of stuff that I feel like they said throughout the night where it just felt like they were avoiding certain phrasing or the way that they phrased stuff, especially not so much in commentary, but with the panels and stuff.
Did this happen before or after the trainee thing?
This is before.
Okay.
Yeah. So the match wasn't all that impressive, I think.
0 stars out of the Meltzer system.
It just was really something. But it was at least better than the thing that followed it, because we had heard this rumor that there was going to be an hour-long intermission, which that would have been just the worst thing in the world. And instead it was about 15 minutes. And during this intermission, they went off for a prayer or something. And I'll, put my hand up and say I don't know jack shit about this kind of culture. And to be perfectly honest, I don't really care, because I don't care about any culture, including my own. So that's what the type of thing where it's like, isn't that interesting? Nah, not for me. But I can understand if that's a part of the culture, then, hey, let's accommodate the culture and stuff. At the very least, they could have done something more than this, which, to me, what bugged me, this intermission was an interview with Chris Jericho where he kind of tried to do what he did before, but not as funny. And a video package talking about how great Saudi Arabia is, because now women can drive, kind of.
It was bad.
Like, what? Like, this thing came off as the biggest explanation of this whole pay-per-view as propaganda and nothing more. And kind of like, you should be ashamed of yourselves, sort of. Because it was like, aren't we heading towards the modern society now? We've got this and we've got that. And it's just irked the shit out of me.
Tony, it's okay for WWE to be there, okay? It's okay because Saudi Arabia wasn't on the Muslim ban list. So it's okay that we go there. It's all good. I'm just saying that's how it works. Vince McMahon and Donald Trump, they're cool with this. They talked about it. So, and by the way, it's really not that. I really don't care that they did this for 15 minutes. This was like a 4.5 hour show, close to 5 hours. It felt like. So I really, I mean, this is essentially a fucking concert in the middle of WrestleMania. So
yeah, I don't like those either.
So I mean, is this really that bad? Like, I don't even care about anything that happened. I just really thought for starting with the last match and for an hour, it just really felt like that they were doing their best to not be offensive with how they said things. And I picked up on that, and that bugged me. and it didn't like not bug me like terribly, but it was just something that was like, man, what the fuck are you trying to do, WWE? Like you can't put on a wrestling or a fighting product and not like talk about fighting or like phrase things weirdly that makes it so it's kind of hard to distinguish.
Well, you know what also bugged me about this too, and this is just, I'm sure I'm probably the only person that thought of this. They started off with these graphics, and one of them said, "Hey there." And it immediately got this flash in my mind of, Paige here! And I was like, oh god, don't tell me that's going to be the only time that she pops up.
Paige here.
I was just like, no, they can't do this.
Man, what if they did the Bollywood version of that movie?
Oh my god.
They should have done that. That would have been fucking hilarious if they trolled Paige like that.
In the middle of this thing, a woman comes on screen and says, "Everyone is welcome," during a show in which the women wrestlers are not welcome. So
I'm really interested by her because she seemed to genuinely, you could argue, well, that's the culture, in her brain, but she seemed to really love her country and really believe these things. I was curious, like, okay, who is she? What's her story? What does she do? But that was about it, because the rest made me realize this is sponsored by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. There were no other sponsorships.
Mm-hmm.
No Mountain Dew, no Snickers.
Certainly no KFC.
No KFC.
Surprised the official theme song wasn't a Saudi Arabian theme song at all. It was
Saudi Arabian?
Did I say Saudi Arabian?
Saudi Radio.
I don't know that element.
Listen, Saudi Radio was like number 5 in Saudi Arabia in like 2018. Okay, I can't help it. It's a bump.
Yeah, this was sponsored by the Kingdom of Sodium Irradium and Sodium Irradiated, whatever you called it.
That's weird. Like, politics aside, that's weird.
Especially because you looked at like how many people had pyro and stuff. They spent a butt ton of money on this.
Yeah, I doubt that WWE spent money on that. I don't think WWE did anything with the pyro, because if they're so stingy for a regular fucking show, why would they go all out for these motherfuckers? They didn't put shit towards those fireworks.
A lot of money.
Yeah, I wonder how much WWE got paid for all this.
Wasn't it $2 million? Was that the report I saw?
200 million, I think.
Yeah, it had to be a lot more than that.
Well, it's a 10-year deal.
Oh, is that for the 10 years?
I don't know if that's for all. If that's just this for this event, I bet that they generate like $200 million because, or like a ridiculous amount, because, like I said, they filled like 60,000 people in this stadium. Like, this is essentially like WrestleMania and and like the Middle East. To these people, that's what this pretty much probably felt like. Because God knows what fucking edited version of the product that they're getting in Saudi Arabia.
I was gonna ask that question too. I wonder if in Saudi Arabia they're just like, the women don't wrestle, we're just gonna put on something else here. Whenever a women's match comes on,
it'd be funny.
That was my question too.
And instead of Chris Benoit being erased from history, Darren Young is erased from history. Although that's not difficult.
Yeah, if anybody knows any of that information, definitely drop that in the comments, because it's something that's hard to really research, because you can't just kind of type it out and just kind of go, hey, I live in Saudi Arabia, let me watch the network. Like, you can't just plug that in, but they got to do something along those lines. And I'm assuming that they probably don't have the WWE network necessarily over there, because then they would just have free access to watch anything like that. And I can't imagine the archivists going out of their way to tag every single segment that has everything to do with a woman, Man,
I bet Saudi Arabia would have loved the Attitude Era for wrestling when it comes to how they treated women. Actually, it's probably more in line to how that they view women, to be honest with you. So, I mean, just from the standpoint of just beneath them. So, because WWE's track record of treating women has been, the best.
Hey, but if you go with what they did on this intermission thing, it's, well, this is amazing to live if you're a woman and whatever, according to them, which it's sad.
Hey, I bet I bet you're rich, it's probably okay to be a woman inside. I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying that if some of these like royal families, I bet it's not too bad. But God knows if you're like a poor woman in one of these in Saudi Arabia, God, I could only imagine what hell that would be. It makes you blessed that you're in like Western civilization that's modernized to a certain extent. Even though women are still viewed lesser here for some reason, we're still the United States is still fucked up in its own way.
I will say though, I'm very proud that it seems like the entire pro wrestling community is on board with this. Like, there doesn't seem to be almost anybody that's like good, you know, like that kind of thing. And it's like, well, you're an asshole.
I mean, if you're the
Except for
fan,
Triple H.
I mean, if you're one of these people who just hates women wrestling, I bet, oh my god, this is the greatest show ever. But
yeah, the people that are out there, like butt
Bradshaw
buddies and whatever.
Was talking to
God.
Fox Business and was like, well, listen, there's going to be 60,000 people here, and they're going to watch the show, and they're going to check out our website afterwards, and they're going to see that, you know, Nia Jax and Brock Lesnar are equals, and it's like, we're breaking down cultural barriers. So if you listen to JBL and apparently Triple H, they really think that they're at the forefront of women's, well, liberation.
I will say Triple H's official response, like the whole situation about them going to Saudi Arabia, despite how women are treated there, specifically, like I thought, because he was essentially saying that this is like a great business opportunity, and I get from a WWE standpoint why they still did it anyways. It is a great business opportunity. They're getting a lot of money for it. You know, and it could in some way lead to like breaking down like this like culture barrier to how women, at least in wrestling, is portrayed in the Middle East, and make it more acceptable for, you know, our women's division, which is getting closer and closer to being on par with our men's division, to go over to the Middle East as well to do these events. Like I get what he's saying when he says that, but it's still really fucking offensive that, you know, they still did this, act like there was nothing wrong throughout the whole process of all of this. So I get why people are legitimately pissed about them going to the Middle East, or going there in particular to do this event.
I'll phrase this in a way that I've heard before, and it became one of my favorite quotes to say in a situation like that. It doesn't matter how many scoops of the best tasting ice cream in the world that you have. If you drop a turd in the middle of it, it's still a shit sundae. Well, at this point in the pay-per-view, we've got the Triple H John Cena one, which was like, the Cruiserweight Championship match, you know, we knew Kalisto was going to lose. The Bar and Bray Wyatt, that sucked. Jeff Hardy and Jinder Mahal, all we had out of that was, oh my god, that botch. Then we get this intermission. It's boring, it's just bothersome. And then we get another match that is just a squash and just not interesting all that much in my mind, which is the SmackDown Tag Team Championship match between the Bludgeon Brothers, soundly defeating the Usos.
I disagree. I thought this was a good match.
You did?
Yes.
What did everybody else think about that? Am I the only one that thought that? Because I really had like no interest in this at all.
I can't remember anything from it other than them winning.
And maybe I've grown too accustomed to the modern WWE, where it's like you have 4 false finishes and all this stuff, but everything just seemed so boom, that's it, it's over, that it just felt bland and flat. And by this time I was pretty over this show and really was hoping that the championship matches or the Rumble would provide some type of newsworthy moment. I mean,
I'm just trying to judge this based on like, what if I was going to a house show, would I be happy with that match? It was all right. I'm not going to say it was bad, because it wasn't. It was quite short, and they're still trying to push the Bludgeon Brothers as like a big deal, so they're not having them take too much in the way of offense against them. So it was just your standard rematch where you just want to put the champions over more than the challengers.
It was funny that they put over on commentary, well, Uso defeated Rowan on SmackDown because of Naomi, but they wouldn't dare show a clip of that.
Yeah. I made a mental note of that originally. I was like, I wonder why Naomi's not out there now then, if she was out there on Monday. Interesting. Or Tuesday.
I'm fine with WWE putting house shows on the network like this, but don't promote it like it's a pay-per-view. I don't think it's supposed to be this bland.
I don't think it's supposed to be viewed as a house show. I really genuinely think that they look at this as a pay-per-view, at least a pay-per-view from the standpoint in Saudi Arabia. Like this is their WrestleMania. So with no title changes. But
it was a house show at the end of the day.
with the really
from our side of things, if this was a show that was being put forward to us, it would be a house show.
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. They referred to this Rumble match as an official Royal Rumble, so
which is weird. But whatever.
Well, that was the one thing that wasn't really like house show. That was like the one thing that made it stand out more.
Yeah, well, we could talk about that later, but I just like with this match, I'm just saying that it was good from the standpoint that it really made the Usos look like they had a chance, even though that they didn't have a chance, and it made the Bludgeon Brothers look incredibly strong. Because even with the Usos did quite a bit there for a 3-minute stretch, like they did a lot of not hot tagging, but did a lot of quick tags, a lot of kicks in their like usual stick, but. I think they did a good job of highlighting the Usos and making them look like, decent competitors as former champions to the Bludgeon Brothers, who they may look a million times stronger, I think, after this match because of how it went. I think the crowd not being as responding as much because overall this crowd was a little bit more on the quiet side. It was only for like the bigger names or the more recognizable names that they really made loud pops or showed any enthusiasm behind them. So I expected this match to not get a good reaction from the crowd, but which I think hurt it to an extent. But overall, I really enjoyed it for the 7 minutes that it was on. I think for all the matches before the ladder match, this was the best one. If we're not going to count the John Cena Triple H one.
Well, you kind of have to. It's a match.
It was a match. I counted it.
Time out. It's a match.
This is my best match, except for this match and this match and this match as well.
And that match that wasn't a match.
Oh yeah.
Well, if we are talking about good matches, thankfully the match that followed this was the ladder match for the Intercontinental title. Now that was a good one.
That was a great match.
That actually felt like a pay-per-view match.
I mean, you go ahead, Drew.
I was just going to say the way that this match ended was definitely the greatest ending to a ladder match I've seen in a long since Damien Sandow. Yeah, it's since Damien Sandow turning on Cody Rhodes to win the Money in the Bank briefcase.
I thought it was great. I loved it. I thought it was the best way to not have Finn Balor win that and continue his feud with Seth Rollins for Rollins to just sneak in there last minute and grab it.
The face that Finn Balor made too was really good, where it was just kind of like, the fuck that's happened?
Only in his Irish voice, though.
No, I can't do an impression of that. I can't be bland enough to do an impression. That's some of the problems.
Just drop your cheese, and sometimes your U's, and yeah.
In the pre-match promo before that, Finn Balor was like, you could just tell he was just reading cue cards.
They all were.
But
at least the other ones tried to put a little bit of emotion behind what they were saying. He was just reading.
It is great to be in Saudi Arabia. I love to be here.
I support the LBGT community. Oh shit! I wasn't supposed to say that. My bad. I'm gonna not be into this now. It's probably what happened. To be honest with you, he probably didn't give a shit because of that.
Possible.
This was definitely the best match of the night so far, and it was. I'm not gonna say it was a bad match or anything, but it was definitely a good match. It's just that my standards for ladder matches after the takeover match, you kind of have to just judge it on the match to happen beforehand with a similar gimmick, and this was nowhere near that in terms of it didn't need to have loads of major spots and anything like that, but it just felt like there are only 2 ladders involved in the entire thing, and they didn't really use them that much. It felt to me like if you're going to put a ladder match on a house show, this is how you book it. You book it in a way that nobody's really going to get hurt.
Except for Finn and that giant gash that he got over his eyebrow.
Yeah, well, Finn's expendable, so it doesn't matter too much.
It's funny, even though we're all kind of dumping on Balor right now, this was the first time that I've seen in so long that they actually spotlighted Finn a little bit here. Like, they really made it seem like he's gonna win. Oh shit, Rollins took it out from under him. Maybe Finn and Rollins will go off and have a singles program now.
They should, because that has been the best story of the Intercontinental title since just before Mania. Like, the cool thing about that Mania match was It wasn't about the Intercontinental Champion. It wasn't about The Miz. It was about Seth and Finn, their rivalry, and how they both felt like they needed to get over the other person.
Well, they probably are going to continue this going forward because The Miz and Samoa Joe are both on SmackDown, so they can't kind of continue that. Although, for some reason, they are still doing this whole thing with The Miz and Seth Rollins at Backlash. They haven't taken that off the card at the very least. So, that kind of already kills that because it's like, all right, well, United States title's not going to switch back to Raw. IC title has to stay on Raw. Rollins has to retain. And we really have to just wait until after Backlash. But I'm assuming that it's probably going to go to Rollins and Balor next. Although, maybe they do kind of cut to the chase and put somebody else in there. Maybe they put in Elias. Or
Yeah, I was thinking Elias.
They need to.
Maybe Baron Corbin gets in there. There's some variety. But it's hard to tell because what are they going to do with Roman? What are they going to do with, pretty much anybody at that point? There's a lot of different varieties there. What about Strowman? What about Lashley?
And
Anything can go in a
I don't
lot
think
of ways.
they're going straight to it because I'm sure Rollins and Balor will find their way into the Money in the Bank.
That's one of those things, too, is if Money in the Bank is next, we kept thinking that it was going to be Extreme Rules. Money in the Bank is historically a pay-per-view that they don't build feuds around. It's just sort of, let's have these X amount of people, they're in the Money in the Bank match, they're going to fight each other in random tag team matches or random pairings. And it'll just be, all right, on the Monday Night Raw side of things, we've got, say, I don't know, Rollins, Balor, Elias, and Lashley are in it. And on the SmackDown side, it's Miz and Samoa Joe and blah, blah, blah. We're going to see, well, then Seth Rollins and Finn Balor are going to team up tonight against Elias and the heel. They're going to do that kind of crap. So a lot of those people are kind of in flux right now. And even though we keep saying, we're not going to figure out what's going to happen until after Backlash, we might not really even figure out what's going to happen until July, which that sucks. So.
I want to bury Michael Cole for a second, if I may. Since Calamar did it once, I want to do it a second time. He pointed out at some point during this match the softest "This is awesome" chant I've ever heard in my life, and
I hear
it was
I heard it.
The softest, wasn't it?
I think there was a handful of people in that crowd that were actually regular. They knew what was going on. They're the same small smattering of people that said, "Walk with Elias,"
Well, there was a good amount of people who did the Walk with Elias thing. This is awesome chant, and they did This is awesome chants a couple times later in the night for a couple of other matches, which maybe calm down, Saudi Arabia. But I was just Michael Cole. We don't have to point out out every single time that one person chants it. I really hate WWE's assistant of trying to be, oh man, guys, let's circle jerk. This is the greatest match ever, or something stupid like that.
Well, that's their job. They have to point out.
I know
that people are super into it, even if they're only mildly into it.
It comes off so cheesy sometimes when they fucking force the shit out of it. I just wish sometimes they just would let Michael Cole or some of these commentators just naturally get excited about something. I feel like the fucking Titus O'Neil thing was about the first 2 minutes of them shitting on that. That was all natural. I wish there was moments
easily their favorite part of the whole thing.
Yes, I really wish that there was more moments where they could be natural for some events, because man, some of these matches would have been better if they weren't so fucking scripted, because it's really, really annoying how scripted Michael Cole is sometimes.
Well, this is a discussion that I'm sure we could go down a huge rabbit hole down in future podcasts or something. I don't even know if we actually ever addressed it on the podcast at all, but the idea that when you've got a crowd chant going on and only one or two people are continuing it, isn't that just one of the saddest things in the world?
sad.
Listen, one of my favorite wrestling videos of all time is the Super Dragon video.
Well, that's just fucking amazing. That's a different story. That's legend. But when you actually go to a wrestling event and you've got some kid a couple rows ahead of you and he's just kind of "Let's go, Cena."
That was gonna be my.
And nobody even does the Cena sucks back, and it's just "Let's go, Cena."
No, I do. I am the one person that'll chant it back. And so it would see them loses. It goes, you just start chanting in that kid's ear, Cena sucks over and over again. That's what you got to do.
Well, I love the NXT crowd for that reason, because when we watch like the normal episodes of NXT, the crowd is so like compact that you can see a lot of the reactions of the people because it's not that far back. The lighting is different and stuff. And I love when you get like, say like that when Bayley was still there and people were singing, hey, we want some Bayley, like that kind of thing. And then you get like some dude like third row in and he's still just singing it. And then you see him look around and then just kind of like sulk.
Yes.
Just kind of get all sad like, hey, we went. So, that kind of thing. So maybe the This Is Awesome people were like that tonight. I didn't even hear the chant. So that must have been how low that was. But Seth Rollins retains here. And that ends up being a shot of adrenaline. And it's just kind of like, oh, all right, now we're, woken up from this thing. And then they kill it again because they just go, let's talk about the recruits that we had. Here's a bunch of tryouts. Yes. And here's 4 dudes.
I actually like it too.
The beginning part of it, that's the problem I had with it, where it was just like, let's talk about how they ran drills and stuff. And I was just like, I don't care.
Man, this is the same video package I've seen before, fucking Tough Enough. And like anytime they show performance videos and like previously, I've seen this 1,000 times.
Every time it's just, you think that this is tough? Well, we're just getting started.
You think this is tough? Should have seen it when Bill DeMott was here. It would have been way fucking worse.
Now pick up that donut.
What was the name of the guy in the white button-down shirt that we were talking about?
Like
anyone catch his name?
Fusar? Fusili?
I thought it was with an M. I thought it was with an M.
Well, Mr. White Button-Down Shirt
Nassar
was awesome. His promo was really good, and I was very captivated by him. So I'm excited that maybe in a year from now he'll show up on the live events, and that'll be cool.
Well, they had the beanpole type of dude that talked first, who... All right, well, let's go one by one of these people. We had that guy. My first reaction was, I hope that this isn't the guy that they gave the mic to because he's the only one that can actually talk, because he kind of sort of can't. And by like later on, I was really just like, all right, I don't like this guy. And it was immediately one thing that really threw me off, which was when the Daivaris came out, he had this instinct of just doing the pew, you smell. I don't like you. And I was just like, oh my God, are you 8? What the fuck?
And yeah, the guy's name was Mansoor, the guy who had the longer hair and actually seemed like he had charisma.
Yeah.
Well, that dude's the second dude to talk, and that guy was just kind of like, hey, I can talk, and I'm blah, blah, blah. And it was just like, okay, all right, we got something here.
Listen,
awesome.
Was he the one in the denim that Rob said was going to get cut first?
No, the dude in the WWE shirt who was kind of shorter than the rest, he kind of seemed like he wanted to be there. The one I said's going to get cut first was the one that they didn't give the mic to, that just
in the black shirt
body slammed. Yeah, he body slammed one of the Daivaris.
So there's Beanpole dude, there's long-haired dude that is like good, there's Mr. Tough Guy t-shirt, and there's the guy who like really struggled to do a body slam.
Okay, can we talk about the next part of this segment? Because it's obviously nice to see the recruits coming in and saying, like, oh, these people could be the next like wave of Saudi Arabian WWE superstars. But then they bring out the 2 Daivaris.
Then it was
It's
bad.
like they've spent so long talking about how progressive Saudi Arabia is becoming and how we're looking towards the future. Let's talk about their feud with Iran. That's like new and exciting. Let's talk about the fact that the Iranians bombed Saudi cities and stuff like that. That's like gonna get real heat.
Oh God.
Well, did anybody else have this gut feeling that you were just like, man, I really want Hulk Hogan to come out?
I felt like I was living in the 1980s again, like with that.
I had the question: when did Daivari or Sean Daivari, I guess, because there's 2 of them now. When did Sean Daivari come back?
He's not back.
Just
I think that was
just today.
Yeah, it was just a one-off.
Man,
They were just like, "Hey, it's the 2 Daivaris. This is a regular thing."
Brothers.
Like,
I miss Muhammad Hassan and Daivari. That's the Daivari I know and love.
Wasn't Daivari with Kali?
Yeah. Daivari's been with.
He's with Hassan, Kali. He's been with Angle, Mark Henry.
Who's with Mark Henry? That was the best. It was some weird pairing, but it was incredible at the same time.
I'm glad that Sean Daivari at least came back for this, because when the Cruiserweight Classic was going on and they showed Arya Daivari, I was just like, oh, that's kind of cool. He's got a brother. I didn't know that. And I was like, I hope that they sign him and everything. And my gut reaction wasn't that they were going to do this separate Cruiserweight TV show and stuff. So I was just like, that'd be kind of cool to see Sean Daivari back and have him be like a tag team, because we could use more tag teams. And
Don't worry, they're going to be the Cruiserweight Tag Team Champions.
Well, does Sean Daivari follow the 205 limit? Did anybody check that ahead of time?
I don't know, but when do they come up with the Saudi Arabian Championship and we have a tournament?
Well, wasn't that what the belt was at the end?
Well, no. Well, I mean, I would hope not, because Braun Strowman is not from the Middle East.
No.
By the way, Sean Daivari is billed at 189 pounds, so he will be able to.
Good.
I definitely didn't mind the fact that they decided to use someone essentially as cannon fodder to try and get the Saudi Arabian recruits over. But did you have to play on the Iran thing? Like, surely you could
That was bad.
It's in bad taste. Yeah, it's in bad taste, and it's like you can't be progressive and then just play on their racial stereotyping of people.
Well, the people popped, so what can you do?
Yeah, but that's
not do it.
But that's just a sign of like, is that still a good thing though? Like,
they're picking sides politically, which is the one thing WWE should not be doing right now.
Well, it's the idea of like, if you put like an Iranian character again, like a Muhammad Hassan character in WWE, and people boo him and people pop the people that beat him, is that a good thing? Do you really want to generate that sort of heat? I mean, it's good because it's getting a reaction, but it's bad because it's just typifying that Americans are racist.
No, it's bad because this is the only place where this kind of reaction is going to happen.
Yeah,
because WWE's not going to go as far as what they did with the Muhammad Hassan back in 2005 and 2006, which if they did that now or did something similar, that would be fucking insane. And that with the PC culture, just like
I do understand that, but it's just like any callback to any sort of like, we don't like these people because you're not from this country. It's just like, it's so antiquated.
It's dumb that we still have WrestleMania matches based on that. John Cena.
Well, there's two things that I want to bring up here. Number one, my favorite moment of all time when it comes to I don't like this guy because he's foreign, so I'm going to cheer for the hometown thing, came about with Wade Barrett versus Ezekiel Jackson, when the crowd started chanting USA and didn't realize that neither of them are from the United States. That is my favorite moment of a USA chant ever. And I forget who was on commentary at the time. It might have been JBL or something. It was just like, the one's from England, the other dude's from like South America or whatever it was.
Might have been Cole, because I think he was doing the heel character.
I just love that. But the other thing I wanted to point out is they had the flag stand out there ahead of time. So it was just like, all right, we're just going to have a flag stand out here because these guys are going to come out and interrupt. It's just like one of those things you're not supposed to notice, but as soon as that happened, it was just like, huh, look at that.
I'm very curious how the men that they had in the ring, who I'm assuming that they have contracts signed with WWE, which, by the way, I'm glad that I'm on like first name basis with all these guys, because I really doubt that I'd be able to pronounce all their last. No offense, I doubt I'd be able to pronounce all their last names on like my very first shot. But
well, that's another thing. I love that Vince McMahon already skipped right to just one name. One name, damn it! Here, meet Elias.
They get repackaged anyway, so they won't be Mansoor. They'll be like something
much more racist,
xenophobic.
Al-Farouk or something.
I wonder how well known these guys were before they got in the ring tonight, because some of them got louder reactions than the other ones in the ring when they.
I think
got
that's
their names
based
called.
off of their location.
Specifically, the one that said, "I'm from Jeddah." And they're, that's where we're at. Yeah.
Yeah, USA.
I really wonder if any of these guys were well known at all before this moment, and I bet we'll find out, or we might not never hear from these guys ever again, because this all could be a publicity stunt. WWE next week would be like, oh yeah, we fucking they all suck.
They get released on Black Friday.
Or you never know. One of them could be WWE champion in 2 years' time because they're trying to market even more in Saudi Arabia.
At least one of them is going to be cut in the next year when it comes to NXT. We're just going to get some random report one day and it's going to say NXT talent released. Everybody's going to click on it going, oh my God, did they release like Lars Sullivan or something? And it's going to say Mansoor or whatever his name is, or these kind of people's names.
I put money that at least 2 of them get released by next year. I put money down on that one. That's an easy bet.
Yeah, it happens to everybody. They released one of the Chinese recruits recently, or whatever. It's
Ben Wang, man.
I think all of them get
What
released.
are we gonna do without the Wang man?
No, Ben Wang's still there. He's still Ben Wanging.
No, didn't they release Ben Wang? Oh no, they released Ho Ho Loon.
Yeah, they released Ho Ho Loon, and they released I think the guy's name was like Gout or something.
Oh,
like,
they released Ho Ho Loon. Oh fuck, man!
They're gonna replace him with.
It was too Ho Ho Soon.
They're gonna replace him with Ring Ding Loon.
He reminded me of Santa Claus, and that's all I cared about.
Why did he remind you of Santa?
Ho-hos.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute. I don't see any connection.
You're complaining about my how I'm talking tonight. I'm surprised that was the one where we're like, what does he mean when he says ho ho for?
I'm used to just having to question everything you say, Drew.
Hey, someone has to question everything I say. Someone has to.
I don't know where this will fit in for the rest of the night, but there was a big Kona Reeves sign.
There was.
Right in the entranceway.
Signs.
Right in the entranceway, on the right side of the entranceway, there was a big "The Finest Kona Reeves" sign, and I thought that was very strange.
I wonder what would have happened if you got a sign in there and it was like, Saudi Arabia fucking sucks or something like that. I wonder if you would.
They probably wouldn't be living.
They probably didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder. I bet that would happen.
Because
I wonder if you were
CM Punk signs recently, or like in the last year.
Well, no, I wasn't even talking about the company. I just mean, I don't think anyone would be living there with that mindset. They'd probably,
I don't think anybody will be living there with that mindset.
Yeah, that's what I meant. That's what I meant.
I mean, it's very difficult to hold up a sign when you got your hands chopped off.
Okay.
What if the royal family did though?
I just
interesting story.
I think we should be very lucky we live in a country where you could tell I could go on Twitter and tell the president that he's a piece of shit and that he could go fuck off and die, and the worst thing he could do is block me. I think we should be very grateful that that's the country we live in and not that country, because that country sounds like it doesn't sound terrible, but does not sound as cool as this country.
At least women can drive there. Your move, America.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see what you do, America.
Yeah, what's next? Vote? It's just ridiculous.
What's next? Women main eventing WrestleMania? That'll never happen.
That's coming.
I know.
What are they gonna do if they main event WrestleMania next year and presumably in Saudi Arabia it's broadcasted with the women's matches cut out? What are they going to do?
They probably broadcast it late so they can just rearrange the match structure.
Yeah, probably. And then they probably just have some other kind of whatever, like the second to last event. It's probably just you got from that, then go, well, thank you for WrestleMania, and
then they show the fireworks, but not who's in the ring.
Yeah, they
could,
the fireworks too.
Fireworks, yeah.
Anybody else notice that the fireworks were really strange today? Where when they would cut away to that, it was like almost in slow motion,
and they looked phony when they cut away from it.
It looked like the helicopter that was flying. It was using like a camera that didn't have as high quality as a normal one. Yeah, it looked a little bit
some dude's cell phone.
No. It reminded me of like the camera footage from like the Rock's entrance when they had like the helicopter fly in part of it for the first like minute of it. It reminded me of that. Which
that was like 2002.
Yeah, which by the way, that is the whole. Not the whole. That's the Rock's best version of his theme.
Good song. Talking about themes, this new Nakamura theme is
so good.
It's badass.
I hate the beginning of it, and I love the rest of it. I don't like that little quick video that they show ahead of time.
Yeah, they'll get over that though.
After that, though, it's bitching.
Oh, so good.
And that's all the more reason for me to think that they're going to give that title to him now, after I was talking about, like, well, maybe they won't give it to him and all that. But they're clearly waiting. And they did this decision of let's have a draw, just a double count out. AJ Styles retains because clearly this is just, we want to do this at Backlash instead.
The match is fine.
But now it has to get dragged out to possibly Money in the Bank and beyond.
It will be.
It's the summer months. I'm not surprised if they do that. And also, if Nakamura does win the title at some point. I mean, Brian is busy with Big Cash right now, anyways, and who knows what the fuck Orton's going to be up to. So it is what it is.
I would not be shocked at all if this is what we get. We get Shinsuke Nakamura wins the title at Backlash. They continue to have random tag matches for the next month. AJ Styles gets his rematch at Money in the Bank, and then Extreme Rules and SummerSlam or whatever, we get like Randy Orton or whatever. Daniel Bryan beats Nakamura for the title closer to around Survivor Series, and then we'll figure it out. But it depends on who wins Money in the Bank and a couple other factors like that. But Nakamura, that title is closer to being around his waist now that they changed his entrance theme for sure.
Absolutely.
Actually, it's about the same distance away from him because it's still around AJ Styles. Did it?
Oh, it depends on if they're sitting next to each other.
Burn! Oh, well, they're not sitting too close to each other now, Tony. They're not friends anymore.
Yeah,
he keeps on blowing them.
AJ's got to watch his balls, man.
Yeah.
Essentially, now I'm of the mindset that if they don't give the title to Nakamura at Backlash, they're never going to give the title to Nakamura.
Yeah, I kind of think the same.
Well, so it's kind of sink or swim for him in this sense. I mean, his character's still very good, and he'll still have a role to play on SmackDown. Maybe as in the United States Championship picture, but you can't give somebody 5 shots at the WWE Championship and not give it to him on the 5th one.
Listen, Rusev is still in the company after he had like 5 U.S. title shots in a row.
Well, if we're talking about you can't give somebody 5 title shots and not give it to them.
They've done that to plenty of people.
Yeah.
We got another segment before we talk about that.
Oh man.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, it's he'd have to wait a long time before he could do it again, and he doesn't have many years left in him, essentially. So this is his one and only real shot at the WWE Championship in my mind.
I love how I buy into Nakamura more now that he buys into the I don't speak English thing. I think it's incredible. I think this is the greatest thing that they could have done with him because, his English is far and above better than Hideo Itami's, but God knows, he's not the greatest person to speak English, obviously. So I'm glad that they bought into this thing because 1, it's funny. 2, it makes his entrance cooler because it's mainly in Japanese, which is pretty badass. And
mainly in Japanese. Is any part of it not in Japanese?
I don't know.
The violin's American.
Yeah, I mean, shit. You never know. You never know what they do over there. I know some K-pop and some J-pop. They throw in some English words. You never know what Apples to oranges, tomatoes, tomatoes, potato, potato.
Those lyrics to Nakamura's theme. Just list of potato, potato. And... Well, we went from that to the casket match. It was The Undertaker against Rusev. And
Saudi Arabia didn't give a shit about Rusev.
Kind of sad.
I didn't think this was all that bad, but I have to admit, it's because I was going into this not expecting anything.
It was more than what we got, what I was expecting.
I figured we'd get a 2-minute squash or something, so the fact that they went over that, I was like, all right.
The fact that they did more in this match than they did with John Cena really surprises me.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Taker still looks like he can go for at least another 5 matches.
No,
you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, matches like this, I really not even through like. I don't think he should wrestle if he can only do like 5 moves because he's only doing like guys. He
Hulk
barely.
Hogan.
Listen, Hulk Hogan didn't have a move where he goes on the top rope and walks across it like 3 or 4 steps. He barely got 1 step before he had to jump off because he's about to fall. He needs to stop wrestling, and it's not a matter if I think he's gonna hurt himself. His chokeslam sucks. Like the tombstone's cool and all, but guys, he could barely walk across the top rope. I don't want to watch that if he could barely do that one of his 5 moves now. I love Taker. And I'll probably love the next match he's in because I always mark out for Taker. But fuck me, dude. He can only do like 4 moves. I don't want to see that. Just like I didn't want to see Hulk Hogan do 4 moves against Shawn Michaels, even though Shawn Michaels made that match incredible because he's an asshole and had to oversell it because he didn't want to do the match.
It's the greatest match ever.
Yes. Thank you. So, but like, oh my God.
Say thank you as if you had any part of it. Thank you. I really did do a good job booking that match.
I know you did.
No, it's all her. That's why the match happened. But gosh, I really really, 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 really do not want to see the Undertaker do like more matches like this, because it's what does it do for the person he's with other than, hey, Rusev was in a match with the Undertaker. Cool. He's probably going to be released in like 5 or 6 months because he doesn't want to be there anymore. That doesn't change.
I hope that doesn't happen. I hope they get their act together. And he got put back in the match when he said, "Give me something or I'm out." So
Ziggler did similar shit and he got a contract, and look at him. He still doesn't matter. And I'm afraid, and you know, that if Rusev wants that,
let's not go down the Ziggler rabbit hole.
yeah,
Well-
Robert's going to talk for days, and I do not have days.
No.
Really
I know.
quick though about Dolph Ziggler. Apparently, he doesn't have a contract.
It's like a sweetheart deal, right? It's like very small amount, right? Is that what it is?
From the latest thing that I had seen about it, he has sort of a temp contract, and it's going to expire soon.
Mm.
I don't know what soon necessarily means. It could be like SummerSlam, or it could be the end of the year, or something like that. But that whole 1.5 million thing, that's not necessarily true.
I mean, he's been past his expiration date for years now, so I guess it doesn't really matter too much. Okay, we'll go back to the actual match, because I thought the match was a lot better than I was expecting it to be. I thought Undertaker looked a lot better than I was expected to be. This is going a long way to confirming my belief that Undertaker will be WWE champion by WrestleMania next year.
Oh my God.
you know, I still believe that that's going to happen, and I'm glad because we've been on the same wavelengths about this, Callum, and I'm glad we have.
Oh
but
God, I'm on the same wavelength as Drew. God.
I know. It's probably the worst thing that's ever happened, but I'm just saying that I really don't want to see him versus John Cena in a rematch. I really don't want to see that, and that's going to happen now. I don't want to see it.
God, what if we get a fatal 4-way? What if it's Undertaker versus Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns versus John Cena?
I
That seems
literally
like a
predicted
bathroom
that
break.
for this year. So
Listen, if I'm sorry.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just saying the main events next year, WrestleMania over Ronda and Charlotte, I will, kill myself.
Oh, that won't main event over it, but
no!
it'll main event over it when it comes to Saudi Arabia if they cut out the main event
Listen,
for the
Roman
women.
Reigns needs to keep his streak alive. That's the new streak in WWE. It's
What
his
fucking
WrestleMania
streak?
Roman Reigns main event at WrestleMania. He has to be in every main event going forward. That's the rules. It's going to be half a decade if he gets this next one, and it's going to be like that because they love themselves some Roman Reigns. I can't help it.
Robo.
Roro.
Rusev loses. No surprises there, though.
They both
The
got
finish
trapped in the
was cool.
casket, though. Yeah, they both got trapped in the casket.
That's part about it.
I think, like, part of me thinks that he couldn't get Rusev up for the tombstone, which is why Rusev only got a chokeslam,
Mm.
which is a little bit concerning if that is the case, that he can't lift Rusev up for the tombstone.
Yeah, he got Aiden English up, but he's
English
smaller.
is
So
English is a lot smaller.
It would be another point to why he shouldn't wrestle.
I
If
didn't
that's the
even
case,
think that
then,
deep into
yeah.
it. Damn, guys.
I didn't think about it either, but he brought it up, and that could be a quality point. If he would have struggled with that, then he probably shouldn't be wrestling.
I'm
You're
just saying
telling me Rusev is easier to lift than Cena? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah,
more
but
difficult to lift than Cena?
Rusev's about like 50 pounds heavier than Cena.
he's also smaller, so I could only imagine that that's probably harder to pick up as well.
Center of gravity, that kind of thing.
I mean, by Corey Graves' logic, Hornswoggle should have won the Royal Rumble because the center of gravity was the most central in the whole match.
Before we get into that, though, we have one more match to talk about before the Royal Rumble itself, which was the steel cage match for the I almost called it United States again. I keep doing that.
Such
The
a
Universal
nerd.
Championship. I see
See,
the UNI
Tony's the kind of American that thinks the United States is the universe. That's what's happening here.
for the American
God.
Championship.
Jeez, gosh, tired of all this freaking man up in here.
Brock
Let's make the
Lesnar
universe great again.
goes in and he fights Roman Reigns again.
Yeah.
And he beats Roman Reigns again by
Not
doing the
without
same
shenanigans.
fucking 5 moves again, because
That's all they do.
every Brock Lesnar match is literally just whatever finishers the two people have.
At
So-
least it was clever. Like the ending was at least creative.
Well, Callum had the crystal ball up his ass this time and completely saw this one coming.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
predicted
I guessed that this was kind of going to happen.
I
That's
thought Bill
incredible.
DeMott just did donuts, but crystal balls, maybe.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm sick and tired of the fucking door.
I would have actually been more okay with this match being just Brock Lesnar hits a couple German suplexes and one F5 and casually walks out the door.
That would have been hilarious.
Like, just, you know, at this point, like, I don't fucking care. If Roman Reigns wins the title, I'm annoyed. If Brock Lesnar keeps the title, I'm annoyed. If they wrestle for 20 minutes, I don't want to watch it. If they wrestle for 3, I still don't want to watch it. I just don't like this pairing. And I know that it's like the main thing. And Vince McMahon's backstage and he's just like, well, by God damn it, this is the best fucking thing we can have. And they're in a steel cage and Paul Heyman can't get involved even though he never does.
But this time he happened to get involved.
This feud is single-handedly why I watch SmackDown over Raw now.
Well,
But
that
that-
doesn't happen
Nope.
on Raw, and Brock Lesnar's never on Raw, so you don't need to worry about that.
Well, the fucking World Heavyweight Champion is never on Raw, and we know that championship is not going to be on every pay-per-view going forward. I know the WWE Championship will. I mean, and also
Sir, it's
What?
not the World Heavyweight Championship. It's the Universal Championship,
oh,
sir.
Excuse me, it's the United States.
Sir, the United States is the universe.
The United States Universal World Heavyweight Championship.
I wonder in Saudi Arabia if they consider the Intercontinental Championship better than the United States Championship.
Wouldn't you?
Yeah, I do.
Americans do.
I mean, they probably low-key hate the United States in some way, shape, or form. So,
I do.
They-
Wouldn't you? Yeah.
I mean, I hate the
We're
United States.
awful.
A part of me hates it now. I love it, but a part of me really hates it as well. So I get that, and I get their sentiment and hatred if they have that. Oh,
So
yeah.
back to the match.
This match
the-
was okay.
It was
It was
your
better
standard.
than Mania.
Your
Yeah.
standard Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, let's all hit our finishers constantly match. It's a match that shows that these guys are essentially demigods amongst a roster of men because everybody else would lose to one of their finishers, but they kick out of like 5 or 6 of them at a time.
Has
That's what
Reigns,
bugs me about it, though.
Again.
has Reigns ever got a clean win over Braun Strowman?
Yes.
That,
Yeah, I'm pretty
At
sure.
Fast,
Yes.
Fastlane.
The first match they
2017.
did, he got a clean win.
Okay. Well, I know last year when they had like the ambulance matches and shit, Reigns didn't pick up a win during that feud, correct?
Yeah, the last 2 matches he lost both of those ones.
Yeah. Okay. So and fuck, was there a Fastlane match, a singles match?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Now I remember correctly. Thank you.
So do you guys think that the finish was fucked up, or do you think that they intentionally did what they did to make it seem like, I don't know, Roman has even more of a gripe? Because the rules have always been, and they've even kind of played cage matches like this, your feet have to hit the floor. It doesn't matter what else hits the floor. And Roman's feet hit the floor first here.
Well, I hate how the announcers they said, "Oh, look, Brock Lesnar's feet hit the floor first, even though neither of his feet at any point during the entire exchange hit the floor." And then they said his body hit the floor, and then they said his back and his like knee hit the floor, even though I don't think his knee hit the floor at one point.
Well,
They
that's why I'm asking if you think it was a botch or if you think that they did that to protect Roman even more, because they were like, look, his right knee and his foot. Oh wait, I guess just his back counts.
I think
Because
it's similar to the Royal Rumble in 2005 when Cena and Batista went over
Batista.
at the same time. I think
Oh.
I just think that it was supposed to I just think Lesnar's feet were supposed to hit the ground and they just didn't hit the ground and Reigns hit first. And
I got a
but
How do you
feeling
control
what they're.
that? I mean,
I
that's
don't
the thing.
I don't know. I don't know.
I get a feeling that their mentality in WWE is, if you were to ask him and go, well, that's kind of fucked up because he didn't hit the floor, they would go, what do you mean he didn't hit the floor? Roman Reigns speared him and Brock Lesnar was the first person to hit the ground. And then you go, well, he didn't because the cage hit the ground. And then they go, yeah, and he's on top of the cage. Like, I think that they just think of that as like, fuck you, pal. We wanted to tell the story that he won and he won. The end of it.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of thing.
you think Brock
if
was
you
supposed
stand
to
up-
roll
No.
right to the floor, and
No.
he just forgot?
Nope.
No, I think I know that was clearly obviously the spot that was meant to happen, but you can see how completely out of control both of them were coming out of the falling onto the ground. Like
Yeah.
Lesnar landed so hard on his back, in the back of his head, and
I felt
Roman
bad for him. That was a hard
yeah,
landing.
Roman went straight down onto his head. Like they were as soon as the cage wall went, they were completely out of control of whatever they wanted to do. in that
I
situation.
will say though, not tomorrow night. I'm used to saying tomorrow night on Raw. On Monday Night Raw, if they address this and they say Roman goes, "Look at this, you can tell my feet hit the ground" and all that. If they do that just as a means to go, in the future, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns again because he technically won or whatever like that, I'm gonna flip a fucking lid.
I cannot watch this match again.
I
Can't
cannot.
do it, guys.
I could never watch these two fight again. This is borderline Cena, Randy Orton for me. And
Oh,
that feud never really got that old. I just got tired of seeing the match. These two they don't mesh well. They've never had a good. Their one good match included a surprise cash-in that really elevated and helped that match. These two have never had a good match with each other. They never will have a good match with each other. They don't mesh well. And now that Brock Lesnar is essentially untouchable and only does 5 fucking moves because WWE has to let him do whatever the fuck he wants, or because they need him when they don't, I can't stand Lesnar, and I really wish he would just go away. I really wish he would get diverticulitis and, again,
Well,
and just go
way
away.
go.
Full way go. I know he'll never give it to him, but fuck me. I'm just tired of Lesnar. His matches aren't fun anymore. This isn't fun.
No.
And there's no one else that he could wrestle unless he wrestles Ronda Rousey. Or Conor McGregor, which would be some of the fakest shit ever.
Well, I'm going to go around the horn here, and I'm going to get your opinions of just give me a quick answer. Just who beats Lesnar, and when does that person beat Lesnar?
Braun Strowman, SummerSlam.
Bobby
Finn Balor
Lashley,
in my dreams.
SummerSlam.
Do you both say? Wait, both of you guys say Finn Balor?
No, I said Bobby Lashley, SummerSlam.
I said Finn Balor, but only in my
Okay.
dreams.
Oh, I want to go with Bobby Lashley, but I don't think they like Bobby Lashley that much. I want to go with Samoa Joe.
That's a
He's
good
on the
one.
wrong brand.
Samoa Joe's on SmackDown, buddy.
Fuck, my
whatever.
bad.
Well,
And
who's to
I'm
say
sorry,
Brock
the way
Lesnar
that they-
doesn't hold that title all the way long enough until Samoa Joe comes back?
You never know. My bad. The way that they were acting like Samoa Joe actually was going to be fighting for that Universal Championship at some point. That was annoying. How they were like, "Oh man, I know that he's not going to win the Intercontinental Championship because we would never do that." And I know that
Well, no, it wasn't at some point. They were simply saying if Roman wins, then it's a Universal title match at Backlash. He didn't,
Yeah, but
so
they were
won't
making
be.
a point. They were making it a point to cut to Samoa Joe a number of times to keep on putting that in our heads, even though they knew that they weren't going to do that. I was just annoyed. I just don't know why they went through that effort to keep
well,
on.
that's
Like,
at least
bringing
some
it up.
kind of continuity. I, don't
I
have a
guess
problem with that.
so, but if we're gonna act like this is just a house show that we shouldn't care about, then why are they going out of their way to do that?
I'm going to suggest this, and I don't have a lot of faith in it, but I'm just going to put it out there. Maybe the crystal ball shoved up my ass right now. I don't know.
Maybe
Doesn't feel like it, but who knows?
you didn't shove it
What?
up far enough. That's why.
Maybe that's the case. What if the end game here is we have a match between, say, Bobby Lashley, Braun Strowman, or Roman Reigns against Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam. And at that point, whoever wins Money in the Bank just cashes in afterward. And whoever fights Brock Lesnar doesn't beat Brock Lesnar. And they do that whole Seth Rollins switch again.
I
Yeah,
would
that
be
works.
pissed off. It's still the same thing that I was complaining about on the prediction show of, wow, nobody can touch Lesnar. You might as well have put the title on in the 50-man Rumble.
You know what
I wouldn't be shocked at all about that kind of a scenario because I could see there being some kind of an argument on his case where he would be like, look, I'm going to UFC. That is my priority. I'll drop the title, but you're not pinning me.
Well, why would he? It's the
Because he's an asshole.
It's fake.
Well, no, he has never cared about who beats him or who doesn't beat him. He
If he-
only cares about being paid. He doesn't care what he does in a match as long as he gets paid.
I buy that.
I don't
think
buy
there's
it.
some things he would. There's some things he wouldn't do.
Or
I-
he wouldn't lose to Heath Slater or something like that. But if they
Obviously.
if they would told him that Reigns is winning at WrestleMania, he would have done it and he would have gone paid for it. That's all he as long as he's getting beaten by someone that he thinks the WWE have on not necessarily his level but on the high main event level, he'll lay down for them.
And the best part is, he's the person that he doesn't give a fuck if he sandbags a match too. He'll sandbag a match and be an asshole and treat a match like nothing just to prove a fucking point, like he
But
did.
I don't buy that. Like I think that's clever marketing on their part, that they've gotten people to really believe that he's this, piece of shit. I really don't think he would have stayed around if he cared that much about, well, it's fake what I'm doing. Like Callum said, he cares about the money. I think he would have lost to anyone that they wanted him to lose it to.
I think people are in the mindset because WWE have obviously, like you're saying, Rob, like they've weaved this narrative about Lesnar being an asshole that's just like a money grabbing bastard. He's actually like a consummate professional behind the scenes. He'll do what Vince McMahon asked him to do if he thinks that it's right for his character.
I don't know. Look at what happened with Goldberg originally.
Well,
or Dean Ambrose.
Originally, meaning the
look what
Overlord
happened-
match.
Also, look what happened in the past
WrestleMania
month
20.
and a half. The past month and a half is really fucking weird. Like, we could act like him walking out of Raw is not a big deal, but that whole saga was kind of
He
fucking
didn't
weird.
walk out on Raw. They weaved the narrative, and
You
like
can say that.
they just didn't invite him to Raw. They
Yeah.
just didn't. They just made sure that he didn't come to Raw for that one. They said,
Well, we never know really what is going on behind the scenes.
Yeah.
And that's something where if they did get this idea through and it worked, then it worked. But I don't know. He just, in all aspects of everything that I've ever seen him in, off camera, on camera, he just strikes me as a type of person. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if maybe if it's not even his call, it could also be a Vince McMahon call where he'd be like, well, you know what? How about we don't have somebody beat Brock? Because in the future, when he's done with whatever fight he does in UFC, next year, we want to make sure that he's strong so we can get him back. I
That
could
I
see a
believe.
scenario
I believe
where
that
Vince is
way more.
like, Vince just like has this boner for him. And it's just kind of like, well, if we ever have him lose, it has to be against The Undertaker, where he gets a low blow, Goldberg, who's like this monster of a character, Triple H, who he's Triple H, and John Cena.
Who's at the lowest moment of his life after losing to The Rock, miraculously beats you with one FU or attitude adjustment. Just normal shit.
Those are the only 4 people that have beaten him, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Cena, Undertaker, Triple H, and Goldberg.
Punk
I mean,
should have
if you
beat
count
him.
if you count Seth Rollins in Triple Threat as well.
Oh, that
No,
doesn't really
But
count.
the whole
Though.
point was they didn't have to beat Brock.
Yeah, so
Um,
I really would not be surprised at all if we have another match between these two. Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, and somebody else cashes in, and then it ends up being Roman Reigns versus that person going forward.
Listen, if that happens, I will bang my head against my desk to the point where I start bleeding like Roman Reigns did at WrestleMania this year. I don't want to see this match.
I'm worried a lot of matches going forward are going to cause you some serious physical injuries. So you probably should
Well-
just maybe not take it so seriously.
I know.
I'll put a promise out there.
I'm just exaggerating at this point. But I really don't want to see this match again. I'm done. I'm done with it. It's so boring. I know I said that like 50 times, but this has really been the worst feud of like the past like 5 years.
Mm-hmm. It's supposed to be the biggest thing in the world, and I don't care.
It's the biggest thing that no one gave a shit about ever.
This goes back to, WWE is a company that is largely telling stories, and they have made it a point to tell the most monotonous, boring story that they possibly can, because nobody believes that, Roman is this Superman, and nobody really believes, especially after losing to Old Man Goldberg, that Brock is really invincible. Like I said before, all they have done is hurt their roster, and they continued that here tonight.
I know, that's why I hate Lesnar. I'm done with Lesnar.
Yeah. This is just one of those things where they're going to go and follow this up with Roman Reigns beating Samoa Joe at Backlash because he needs to get a win. He just lost twice.
We need to stop talking about Lesnar, but how long was his fucking contract that he just signed with WWE? How long is that for?
SummerSlam, I think.
Is that it?
I'm hoping that it's
As-
just
as-
until SummerSlam.
As far as I'm aware, it's a per appearance basis thing. So I don't know the exact length of it, but it's essentially the £500,000 per match, $500,000 per match, should I say?
Man,
I really like the idea of Lesnar when he does losing it on an episode of Raw, because at least it looks like, oh wow, you should have tuned into that one.
That would work.
the biggest middle finger ever. He shows up at UFC with it and just drops it in a fucking trash can.
Oh.
If
He shows up at fucking Impact.
no, that's what that new belt that they got tonight was for. It says for
Mm.
when he drops in the trash later.
All right, well, fuck that match. So let's get to the main event. This was a 50-man Greatest Royal Rumble match. And obviously, of course, we're not going to go down and talk about every single elimination and stuff. But just to give it a little bit of an easier way to manage how we discuss it, I'm going to go entry by entry. Daniel Bryan and Dolph Ziggler start off. And immediately everybody has the same kind of reaction. Oh, are they going to distance? It's a good reaction to have, though. And we'll discuss this in more detail, of course. But we're followed up with Sin Cara, and
God,
everybody has
alright.
the same reaction of, oh, this guy's getting eliminated.
No, I've got to say about Sin Cara quickly, and I don't want to like drag on too much because there's 50 people to go through, but there's no danger of him ever going back to 205 Live. He is fat. He has gained a lot of weight.
Say Fat Hardy now, jeez.
Yeah,
Yeah, he did kind of jiggle a little
he's
bit.
now Sin Calories, not Sin Cara.
Bum, bum, bum.
I've-
Da-da-da-dum.
Sin Cara's
Da-da-da-da.
kind of been. I don't like his music now. His old music was better.
I don't even remember how his old music went.
His old music was just,
When they were giving
Oh,
him the mood
yeah,
lighting.
the spotlight stuff. Yeah, I forgot about that. Oh, number 4 was the guy who still has not been eliminated from the 2015 Royal Rumble, Curtis Axel.
I'm glad.
Followed by Mark Henry, who, like, yay, Mark Henry. He tosses out Curtis Axel. And then we get Mike Kanellis, who
Broke a
gets
record.
eliminated very quickly. And I don't think he broke Santino's record.
They have it listed
last
as
I-
0.9 seconds right now.
He damn sure tried.
I wonder why he got drew
0.9.
the short.
Hmm.
I don't know what the record is, but I wonder if he just drew the short end of the stick.
Santino's record was always listed by WWE as 1 second, so if it's 0.9 of a second, then
Then he got it.
they'll claim, even if it wasn't, that Kanellis has the record now.
Which, if I would have thought that would have gone to anybody in this, it would have been Kurt Hawkins.
Kurt
No, he had-
Hawkins
he had
was
it.
there.
Yeah, he had his own spot later on.
Yeah, well, that
Was
didn't
it-
turn out all
Was
that well.
he there?
Yeah,
Yep.
right at the end.
Oh, he
Well,
might have been one of the
Mike
guys.
Kanellis getting that kind of treatment, whether he beat the record or not, just proves that he's not going anywhere for a little while. But then we get randomly Hiroki Sumi. And that's a guy? Sure. And I was, as soon as he comes out, and I'm like, who the fuck is this? I'm like, I don't remember this guy being in NXT and stuff. He starts squaring up with Mark Henry, and I'm thinking to myself, crap. This is where they're going to eliminate Mark Henry. Just to give this guy, whoever he is, a little bit of a spotlight. Whoa, he eliminated the world's strongest man. Isn't that impressive? And I was so happy that he got eliminated by Mark Henry.
Immediately.
Because it's just like, I'm tired of like Shaquille O'Neal and whatever. Like, they come in and they can suddenly beat up everybody. You know, Hugh Jackman can knock out anybody in one punch. And it's like, you're a celebrity. You're not a wrestler. I can understand if you interfere and some
he's
other
not-
wrestler gets in there.
He's not a celebrity, he's Wolverine.
Yeah.
That's true.
Wo-
He does have adamantium.
Yeah.
But like this Hiroki Sumi guy, I have no idea who he is. I'm sure most people don't know who he is that are from the American market at the very least. And for him to just come in, and if he would have eliminated Mark Henry, I would have been sad about that. So I love that it was the opposite around, even though Mark Henry got eliminated right afterward anyway. But it was just like, good. Fuck whoever that guy is, that kind of a thing. Then it comes with Victor. Who gives a shit? Then Kofi Kingston. Tony Nese, one of only 2 people from 205 Live to be competing in there. Dash Wilder, and then we get Hornswoggle. Did we need another Hornswoggle return at this point? Because I really was liking the idea that I didn't have to see him again.
It's for the kids, Tony.
No harm, no foul.
I don't give a shit about the kids.
I'm sure Nicholas loved that spot.
You know, he's not too far off from being one of those falling over toddlers I mentioned earlier. So. Now, Nicholas was probably out there with John Cena earlier. That's his highlight of the night. The Hornswoggle thing was just dumb. I hate it when they have him out there. I did like the
actually
idea that
chuckled this
Corey...
time.
Well, I like the Corey stuff where he was just talking about, like, what is he? He's like 4 foot or like 3'5" and 200 pounds or
He's
something.
thick.
3'9", 420 pounds.
I thought that was funny.
It's like, damn, that's Big Show territory, dude. That's fucked up.
He gets an elimination though. He knocks out Dash Wilder because it's not like the Revival have looked like shit recently. Oh wait, they have.
That's the saddest thing, actually, from the past year, is that the Revival has turned into the Ascension of 2017.
They probably wouldn't have if it wouldn't have been 2 injuries in a row. But
Yeah,
this doesn't help. That's for sure.
I'm sure it doesn't help.
And then we get Primo. Nobody gives a shit.
Yeah.
Then we get Xavier Woods, and we get a little spot that Kofi Kingston does every time around, and he saves himself. Yeah, it's okay. What do you guys think about that?
It's okay. They already did all the good ones, so now it's kind of, you're pushing it. But I mean, if you're gonna do it every year, might as well do it with him. There's no one else that I'd be fine with doing it anyways.
I don't really have much to say about the spot, but I have something to say about the fact that this Rumble was full of absolute geeks. Like, it
There
was
were
like,
some freaks in there.
They made it seem like that they were gonna be bringing back up a bunch of Hall of Famers or a bunch of legends, and there was a few, not as many as I thought there would be though.
Well, they announced them all ahead of time.
yeah, you can
I
tell
think
that
this card would have been a lot better if it would have just been the 2 World Championship matches, this Rumble, and like the Cruiserweight match, and you would have kept Taker, Cena, and Hunter for this match.
Yeah, I could see that. Not every other title had to be on the line and stuff.
Didn't Triple H win a Royal Rumble a couple years ago?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
you won the WWE
For the
Championship,
title.
innit? Yeah.
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 I was really hoping that I wasn't just thinking that actually happened in 2016, but that actually happened in 2016.
Triple H is great. You shut your dirty mouth.
I love Triple H. I was just, I can't believe that happened in 2016.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's amazing that he can win a title at that age, especially because he owns the company as well. So
Vince won
amazing.
it at like 50. Like,
It's crazy what you could do when you have power and is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
And when you believe.
who was the next entrant?
Yes, he was. Segue. Nobody gives a shit though, because then Kurt Angle comes out and he tosses out a couple of different people, including Bo Dallas.
Kurt Angle looks so freaking good here, man.
Did he? I thought he looked pretty much the way he's normally been looking.
He looks better than normal. I think he's marking out like Matt Striker did with Booker T that one Rumble.
For
But-
Kurt Angle, who lately has been struggling to do a few suplexes, I thought he was pretty on point tonight.
I will
Well,
say
suplexes are better than his promos.
His sequence with Daniel Bryan was definitely spot on, but he's also working with Daniel Bryan, who is one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Well, Kurt
I
Angle's
was-
one of the greatest wrestlers of all time.
Yeah, but it's Kurt Angle of 2018 who has neck issues and who could barely move properly. So I don't know. I get what you're saying, Robert. I think he definitely, to me, did better tonight than what he normally has done. But I don't know if that's just who he's worked with tonight compared to who he usually does. So we'll see.
Callum, what did you think? I know you're an Angle fan.
Man,
Oh, it was a great moment to see him in the ring with Daniel Bryan.
Do you
It's like
think
a
that match will ever
dream match.
happen? I think
Probably
that
not
match
now.
is-
If Daniel Bryan, had
We
still
always
been-
have Survivor Series.
If Daniel Bryan had still been the general manager, then maybe it could be
Yeah.
a Survivor Series elimination match. But I don't think we'll ever see them go 1-on-1.
I really wish that if they were ever going to do this match, I wish that would have been Bryan's first match back, and they could have made it a career versus career match or something like that. That would have been incredible. But man, I really hope this isn't their only encounter. Just because I know that Kurt Angle has said that he'd want his last match to be with Daniel Bryan, so I think that would be cool if they could still pull that off.
Yeah, we'll see. There's still a little bit of time in the future.
I don't know. He might die soon.
Well, you never know. We had Scott Dawson up next, then Goldust, then Connor, and then Elias, who gets 3 eliminations in one shot and really was kind of on fire for a little bit.
Elias
Luke
looked great in
Gallows
this
comes
match.
out after that,
Oh.
and then Kurt Angle gets eliminated by Elias, where it was just like, oh shit.
Elias
they're
is the
highlighting
fucking
Elias.
man, dude. No,
Well,
he
that's great.
He is.
he had a great showing at the first Rumble this year too. So they really must like him for these longer style matches, which is fine. Elias
He-
is the fucking man.
He's going to be a mid-card champion by the end of this year.
Yeah.
He better be. At the very least, he fucking better be.
That IC title he should win that from Finn Balor. I think there would be no better person to win it from.
I think that he should just beat Seth Rollins for
Ooh,
it.
you think Seth? I'd be fine with that too. I just don't think they're going to pull the trigger that soon. I think Finn would win it from him first.
I think they could
Finn
pull the
beating
trigger very
Rollins
soon.
and then
Yeah.
Elias beating Finn.
Yeah, something like that. Or if someone else beats it from Rollins first and then Finn picks it up that way. I think they have it set up perfectly for Elias to win it from Finn if they ever pull that trigger.
Could you? I mean, this might be going a bit too far, but could any of you guys see Elias as a potential Money in the Bank winner?
I actually think that that's possible. He's actually one of like 2 other people that I would consider for that right now.
Hey, I'll put it this way. They've had instances before where I didn't think that Damian Sandow would win and stuff, so I wouldn't rule it out.
I still, that's my highlight for my predictions career for wrestling is I predicted Damian Sandow to win that match. That's my highlight. So
My highlight is that I got the first 3 people or first 4 or whatever right on that one Royal Rumble that one time. And I was just like, I'm going to get them all right this year.
actually, my bad. That was number 2. Number 1 was when I picked up Brock Lesnar in the fantasy league before WrestleMania when he beat Undertaker. I think
Oh,
that,
yeah.
I think that was the highlight for my my predictions.
Well, if we're talking fantasy league, one of the low points is when I'm like, fine, I guess I'll pick Daniel Bryan, and then he gets fucking injured.
And don't worry,
I cursed him.
the next year I did it too, and I was like, hey, he might be injured right now, but I think he'll wrestle at some point this year.
They got us one of the best outros, though. Fantasy League. Rhino is next, then Drew Gulak, and then Tucker Knight. Which is like, all right, if you're going to give me one half of Heavy Machinery, you're going to give me the latter half? I want Otis Dozovic. At least he's going to have fun and go, stakes and weights, baby, and all this. And
This just brings up like
do that weird goblin type of movement that he does all the time. And
This just brings on to the bigger subject of the NXT people they picked were just a random mismatch of people. Like, just
they really were.
like, obviously we'll get onto them going forward, but it's just like, okay, so in NXT you've got at the moment you've got Aleister Black, you've got Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, got
Velveteen
Cassius-
Dream, EC3,
and
Cassius
Ricochet,
Ohno, Ricochet, yeah.
NXT
Adam Cole.
They have to be running their own shows right now.
You'd imagine so, but it's
Well,
like,
yeah, but I mean, they spared Heavy Machinery, so
I think this is for like one night though. I think that they're gonna be fine if they have a live event tonight as well in the United States and they don't have Heavy Machinery there. I don't think that's that big of a deal.
yeah, but it's just the case of like, if you're not having Heavy Machinery, why did you choose Tucker Knight out of the 2 of them?
Yeah,
don't
it's kind of like
know.
having one of the Ely brothers.
Hey, maybe he's like, nah, man. Hey, I'll go. Maybe the other one's not cool with going there.
Yeah, it's like you took the Street Profits and you decided to put Angelo Dawkins in there instead.
Yeah, it's a really strange pick because when Tucker Knight came out, I was like, oh, huh, okay, Heavy Machinery's in this. Waiting for Otis Dozovic.
oh, he never showed.
No,
Nope. And it's sort of the same as when, God, what Royal Rumble was it? Where it was just like Jey Uso and not Jimmy.
they've done
And-
something like
Remember that
JTG
here.
and they've done like JTG and Shad. Only one of those 2 getting into the Rumble.
At
so.
least with that one, they addressed it though with the coin flip.
Mm.
But when they just do one random person and in that, it's just kind of strange because it's like, well, what, do you just really like Tucker Knight? Like, he hasn't really shown all that much to be super impressed about, but okay.
I guess just because he's bigger.
Maybe, I don't know. I like Otis better though. He's
So
cool.
was that
Everyone
stakes or
does.
weights? You never answered me, Tony.
I'm assuming that Tucker Knight is weights.
Well,
Look at the 2 of them. Otis Dozovic, he's more than likely stakes.
pretty rare stake too. He's
You'd say
a pretty
that.
red guy.
I would say Otis is the stakes, but usually the stakes are too high and he's pretty short. So,
God damn it!
Plenty of high stakes here though.
mm.
Yeah, there's a trophy. God.
And a fucking title that happened. Yeah. They're followed by Bobby Roode, then Fandango, and a good little part of the commentary here was Michael Cole's like, oh, it's Fandango, and Corey or whatever was just sort of like, how do you know? And he's like, I read the fucking screen. Like,
do you know what I like about that? What you just said, how quickly you skipped over Bobby Roode's name.
yeah, because he was inconsequential.
Yeah, that's how little he means now.
Which
Yeah,
is
he
a
needs to
fucking
turn heel.
terrible thing. Bobby Roode should be main eventing with AJ Styles, or even if Roman Reigns was the full-time champion, Roman Reigns.
Yeah,
But
that was
now-
kind of lackluster, wasn't it?
Bobby Roode's just whatever.
Yeah, he should have stayed on SmackDown.
You should have never left TNA at this point.
So
I think that's a bit of a fucking stretch.
one thing I've noticed is the people during this Rumble match, I was really beginning to think that this was a bad place to do a 50-man Rumble because they did not care about anyone that wasn't like a major name from 5 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you get like a Fandango come out there, crickets.
Like even Bobby Roode with the whole glorious thing, the American crowd would have gone berserk. And I'm not sure. Did you get to Roddy yet?
Nope. We had Fandango, then we had Chad Gable, then we had Rey Mysterio. He got a little bit of a pop.
Yeah, and they went nuts
but
for
he's
Rey
been popular since 1996. So
because he was popular in the early to mid 2000s, and that seems like that's all these people know offhand.
Yeah, well, I mean, they weren't going to pop for Mojo Rawley. Then we get Tyler Breeze. He gets quickly eliminated by Mojo. Then Big E. And Carl Anderson. Then Apollo Crews. Firmly Apollo Crews now. Definitively. He's not just Apollo anymore. So he's the rare instance of somebody who actually got their name back.
Is that a worldwide cruise?
It might be.
Huh?
Never been on a cruise before. Certainly never been on an Apollo cruise.
Listen,
and I don't
cruises
plan
are
on it.
fun, but you should definitely not go on it if you don't like the boat that rocks it back and forth.
Well, when he eliminated Chad Gable, Gable smacked the hell out of that.
Yeah, that was a bad landing.
Yeah, that was one of the worst ones of the night. It was just kind of like, I was like, yeah, all right, he's gonna feel that. And then Roderick Strong pops out, so he's our representation of the Undisputed Era.
I was looking forward to.
We know that
more.
Triple H is a big Roderick Strong guy, so it makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah, he went through like a nice stint when he first came in of just like hitting backbreakers on everybody.
And that whole sequence, and then the standoff with Bryan, the American crowd would have gone ballistic with "This is awesome" and just like Roddy chants. This crowd did not give a shit, and it really made me feel like, okay, don't ever do an event of this magnitude in front of this crowd again.
Well, Saudi Arabia, definitely not ROH. We're followed by Randy Orton, who gets a big pop.
He was so over.
Mm-hmm. And I started typing out, X is eliminated by Randy Orton, and I copied and pasted it 5 times, and within a couple seconds, I needed to use 3 of those, because he knocked out Anderson, Mojo, and Apollo. Then we get Heath Slater, and of course the immediate commentary is just, it's Heath Slater at number 36. He's got kids. And I was like, that's the thing. Then we get Babatunde from NXT.
Okay.
First look at Babatunde for me.
He's Leo Rush's bodyguard on the house shows currently, right?
Oh, he's the one doing the bodyguard thing?
I believe so.
So he's never actually appeared on an NXT TV tape.
No, which is why I thought it was the weirdest thing.
I mean,
Yeah,
he's huge. He's
and-
massive.
He's maybe the tallest guy in the company today.
Yeah, he made Bryan look like Alexa Bliss. Like,
I hope that the guy learns well enough to be able to go somewhere, because he looks imposing. So that's cool. But I don't know anything about Babatunde, so it wasn't just like, whoa, Babatunde, whoa, this is awesome.
what
It
a
was just
great
kinda-
name, by the way.
I mean, this is the ignorant fucking American to me. I was just sort of like, Babatunde, isn't that like the thing that they say in Ace Ventura when nature calls? And then I was like, no, it's Bumblebee Tuna. And it's just Chicago. Baron Corbin is next. Baron Corbin getting a little bit of a push here. He eliminates Bobby Roode and Roderick Strong, and looks pretty damn strong in the process too. He did that little thing where he's sliding underneath the ring ropes and stuff, and I'm like, oh shit, Baron Corbin's pissed. He's maybe he lost another hair earlier or something. And then we get the highlight of the entire night. Titus O'Neil has a bad track record in Royal Rumbles. He tried to get himself he failed at failing one year. And this year he failed at walking.
And not even walking, running.
This dude trips, and he doesn't just trip and like slightly stumble. He flies under the apron. He did the equivalent of what you should do however many feet up. Like, he just dove like it was a the ramp was a slip and slide or something. I don't fucking understand it.
Like I had to pause the show. I was laughing too hard. I couldn't concentrate on anything else.
This is one of my favorite things that has happened in years.
Titus
And you
is
can
like,
tell that the commentary team loved it.
yeah. Titus is the biggest running joke in WWE.
The running
ever.
joke.
I see what you did there.
I mean,
Cal. Good job.
You've seen things like I remember because I saw like people doing clips of other times where like Titus O'Neil's gone wrong, and in like things where he in the original series of NXT, like the original challenge
brought
ones,
that up.
where he was carrying the barrel and he stumbled over that.
I forgot about that.
Guys, I'm
thing
just
where-
watching the GIF on a loop now on Twitter, and God, I could watch this for days.
Oh, there's a good GIF that's around there now, and it's the Mario Kart where he slips on a banana peel.
That's awesome.
Find
But
that.
the thing like where he like shoves Vince McMahon and stuff like that, like he's just a walking like comedy
A
machine.
little clumsy.
He needs to go into the Hall of Fame. We're all in agreement,
Oh,
right?
yeah,
Oh,
absolutely.
yeah, he's, for
Oh,
all
yeah.
the shit he's gone through, yes.
Amazing. This is easily going to go down. I'm just going to spoil it for December. This is going to go down as at least one of my awards. I don't know if it's going to go down as like the most shocking moment or the biggest botch or my Smark out moment of the year. This is amazing.
I'd say it could go down as the most shocking moment if it was anybody else, but the fact that it's Titus O'Neil means that it probably can't go down as that. Because you expect.
I mean,
something
the whisper in the wind was already bad enough for me to be like, oh my God, it's the worst botch of the year. And then this happened and I was just like, holy shit. It's one thing to go, oh, we got our wires crossed and I thought I wasn't supposed to catch him and he wasn't doing that kind of a move and it just happened and I panicked and I fell or whatever. It's a total another thing to just kind of be like a Benny Hill sketch or something. Just, what kind of thing.
You know what the worst thing about this is going to be? Because obviously it's such a fantastic moment. The worst thing is they're going to try and do it again and again and again.
I hope they don't. I hope they don't like tomorrow. Or, God, I'm saying tomorrow night again. Monday night
the
on
only way I
Raw.
want to see this work is if Dana's like, all right, Titus, I've crunched the numbers. This is how you need to get in the ring. The poor guy, dude.
They have to be ribbing him so bad. Like when he went to the back, they were probably just like, Jesus Christ. Dude. And I love too when it happened that they tried to like, after they realized that they were just sitting there laughing at it too much, I think it was Cole was just like, and Titus is fired up now. Oh, that really angered Titus falling there. It reminded me of flashbacks of the 2000 Royal Rumble with Kai and Ty and how Jerry Lawler was always just like, can we just watch that clip again? Easily the best part of the entire night, which is not planned and the type of thing where it's like all these Saudi investors and stuff trying to look at this as like this grandiose event and it's all this spectacle and we've got fireworks and we've got championships on the line and legends coming back and the biggest talking point is this dude trips and falls. It's like, that's really awful. He is followed by Dan Matha, who, if you know who Dan Matha is, he's the guy that popped out and it was like, he's the next big thing. And then Samoa Joe whooped the shit out of him. We haven't seen him since. And he's also kind of hanging around Kona Reeves a little bit.
And
So
they
maybe-
referred to him as a performance center trainer.
Trainer,
Yes.
not trainee. Or
Not
anything?
trainee, trainer.
Huh.
That could have
Alright.
easily been a typo with this WWE graphics team, but you never know.
Well, they also didn't know how to pronounce his name, too, because it was Dan Matha, and Dan Matha.
And then it was Cesar Bononi.
I've heard Dan Matha more.
Yeah, that's the one
I'm
I've
assuming
heard.
that's what it is. Oh, don't even get me started on Cesar Bononi. Or Bonani.
Baloney.
Well, only
Chiquita
Boney
banana.
baloney.
Caesar Salad Bononi. He is then followed by the man, Braun Strowman, who throws out Babatunde. Fuck you, you're not taking my gimmick. Throws out Dan Matha. I don't know who you are. Throws out Big E. You're not that big. Throws out Heath Slater. Fuck those kids.
He eliminates 13 people. It's fucking insane.
Yeah, he
Wait,
beat
did he break the record?
Yep, he broke the record.
Get the fuck
13.
out.
Even if they don't technically classify that he eliminated Shane McMahon, he's still tied.
That, which, by the way, that was awesome.
Yeah, that was cool.
Yeah, the Shane spot was my favorite thing of the night.
Can we talk about at least the fact that Big E managed to get him on his shoulder for a big ending almost.
Yeah,
Like, he did manage.
He's pretty tough.
Yeah, obviously like amazingly strong, but like I can't imagine
Wait,
somebody
but
lifting.
Tony, did you skip over Gulak?
I said it a while ago.
Yeah, Gulak was
there. Was
somewhere
one
in the 10s or something like
Yeah,
that.
was one of the geeks in the ring. Yeah, he was one of those.
23. It was.
We also skipped over another good one, which was Tony Nese's ridiculous elimination, which I christened him the premier geek after that. Dancing with the
Who
New
eliminated
Day.
him? I don't even
He's
remember.
dancing
Oh,
with
that's
the New
right. Yeah.
Day. The New Day lifts him up, and he's like, "Yeah!" And they toss his
What?
dumbass out.
Question. What the fuck happened to Daniel Bryan's like chest?
He was in there
Someone
for an hour and a half. How
No,
was he-
I get that. He was in there for a long time. Just what did I miss that made his chest like look like that he was at least did some stunt work for the Passion of the Christ?
Some kind of vegan meal, probably.
Maybe his
Someone
skin
must
is
have been.
just that.
I was gonna say someone must have been just like chopping the shit out of him in the
Yeah,
corner
I
or something like
guess.
that.
It looked
I
like he
assume
was
he
on his
just got
arms
chopped.
too. It looked like he had some like rash skin disease.
Allergic reaction.
Yeah, a
Ziggler
bad
got some
one.
chops in. I mean, Roddy probably chopped the shit out of him. You know what I mean?
Did he contract Babatunde?
Also, shout out to. God, he was in there for like almost an hour and 15 minutes. Shout out to WWE for trusting him like that so fucking
Yeah.
soon. It makes you think that they're gonna give him the World Championship at some point this
I
year,
hope
or
so.
at least by next Mania. If
It has to happen.
if they really are showing that they're gonna have like no restrictions with him, then they are fucking just gonna do it, which is gonna be the greatest. Him winning the world title again will be the biggest moment of like the past 10 years probably. And
They'll
I'm
hope
so
beat
excited.
Shinsuke Nakamura or Samoa Joe. Whoever beats AJ Styles is going to lose it to Daniel
you
Bryan.
know what would be the greatest match though? If it was against the Miz.
I'm really hoping Miz versus Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania.
That would be amazing.
If that was for the WWE title, I would shit bricks.
Well, then you certainly don't have the crystal ball up your ass.
Yeah, it'd be bricks. And maybe that's why my
Um,
predictions don't come true. I'm 7 bricks.
Number 42 is Ty Dillinger, no lucky number 10, and he gets eliminated pretty quickly. Braun Strowman just goes crazy again, tosses out Titus O'Neil, tosses out Ty Dillinger. Rey Mysterio gets knocked out by Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin gets eliminated by Randy Orton. Randy Orton gets eliminated by Elias, and that's really at that point where they go, oh shit, we got too many people. Can we just eliminate some? And then Kurt Hawkins comes out, and you go, well, this isn't going to last a while. He kind of botched his elimination a little bit, I think, right?
Probably.
He's probably just so like awestruck
Used to failing.
Well, yeah, so awestruck and being on such a big stage for once that just forgot what he was supposed to be doing.
He's like, oh man, I can't wait to wrestle a main event. Oh wait, it's not main event. What the hell?
Shit, it's the main event. Fuck.
It's the greatest main event.
There's a lot of Arabs in the crowd tonight for main event.
Oh,
Where
shoot.
am I?
This is not my natural. What if it's like the Wizard of Oz and he just like woke up and he was just in the Middle East? They just like drug him and like, hey, get out there now.
What the hell is everybody talking about? Is this like some extra gimmick that Kurt Hawkins is doing on main event that I'm not aware of?
No, I was just trying to be funny and saying there's a lot of Arabs in the crowd, and then Drew took it and went to the
It's
Wizard
turned
of
into
Oz.
some Wizard of Oz thing. Or, I don't know. If he comes out on Monday night with ruby slippers, then we'll figure it out.
Oh.
Number 44 was Bobby Lashley, who tosses out Elias. They're continuing that at least for a little bit.
His
Let me get the
elimination
Great
made me
Khali.
sad, by the way.
Who, Elias?
Oh, Lashley.
We'll get to that in a little bit. Great Khali comes out and is eliminated by Braun Strowman and Bobby Lashley. Typical Khali. It's like, we're going to pay you to walk down to the ring.
He
And
did.
this is
He
where
did,
I came in, guys.
Lumbered.
he did 5 things and they all looked terrible.
Well, he's Khali.
I know.
He literally, for the longest time, and I might not even have gotten rid of it, but on the About page on Smark Out Moment, here's a little thing explaining, like, you know, well, what is this Smark Out Moment? Well, it's in reference to this and blah, blah, blah. And a disclaimer saying, like, these are all opinions, and if you agree or you disagree, whatever, just leave your opinion. And under no circumstances are any of the opinions on this thing trying to imply that we can do a better job, because even the people like Kali can do better. Like, I had Kali specifically as that for the longest time, and I probably didn't even get rid of it. He's my textbook example of just garbage in the ring. Maybe the one person that I could be a better performer than is him. Kevin Owens follows that, then Shane McMahon, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, is Sami Zayn coming out next? Sami Zayn doesn't come out at all. Shelton Benjamin comes out, and then we're down to 2, and it's Big Cass and Chris Jericho. And obviously at that point, whoever's in the ring is going to potentially win. And I'm still thinking to myself, oh, Sami Zayn's going to just interrupt then. Sami Zayn doesn't pop out at all. Now, we were talking about this a little bit beforehand. Sami Zayn not on this card, even though they did say ahead of time that he was going to be in that match. What are you guys thinking?
Well, it's clearly due to his heritage, essentially. The fact that he's got a Syrian heritage, he's Muslim
And
as well.
Maybe he took a stand because he did the whole campaign where he was donating to Syria
Yeah.
after the attack.
He definitely.
I was just saying, there's just one of a few scenarios. Either he refused to go himself, or Saudi Arabia wouldn't let him in, essentially, or WWE just told him to stay home.
Yeah.
Listen, Saudi Arabia made him do a 23andMe test to see what percent he is Syrian, and it came back too high. That's probably what was happened.
He doesn't get too high.
I think Drew is a little too high.
No, actually, I'm not.
He stays too high.
I'm just really tired. I wasn't kidding when I said I was tired. I worked all day, and I had to watch wrestling in the middle of work, so of course I got tired.
By the way, Tony, that shirt is also available on the Smark Out Moment.
Yes, it is.
TeePublic said.
Surprised that hasn't gotten taken down, but
What?
we'll see.
I'm not too high, or I don't get too high.
Yeah, I don't
anyway.
get high. I stay high.
Yeah, I'm surprised the stoner community hasn't picked up on that one yet.
I
Yeah.
guess it's just one of those things. Shelton Benjamin gets eliminated. Shane McMahon, as we mentioned earlier, gets tossed out by Braun Strowman. That was kind of fun. It's typical Shane McMahon goes out there and gets his ass whooped kind of thing.
Why is he so determined every time he wrestles to try and kill himself?
He's just got some kind of a commentary table thing going on, because it's always that.
Because
fuck your table.
frankly, at this stage of his career, that's the only thing that gets him over.
Listen,
That he's willing to go through stuff like that. Because in promos and stuff like that, he stumbles over his words, and the feuds that he's had recently don't really paint him in a great light. So, we'll just throw you through a table and then you'll get a big reaction. That's what we'll do.
No, they told Shane that they would only bring him back to WWE if he'd be the official table tester for the commentators.
Somebody's screwing in the top part, and they're like, "Yeah, this seems kind of sturdy. Hey, Shane, can you come over here real quick?"
No, he doesn't come over there. You just see him come in flying out of nowhere.
He
you're
just
not sure where he
runs.
jumps from. You don't know where he comes from. He just shows up and does it.
It's like rubbing a lamp. Genie just pops out. They just rub the top of the table, and they're just gonna "Oh, Shane McMahon, we want you to test this." And then you hear
Splat.
"Hey, look at that! It did break." All right, now give it back out there and do your job, damn it. Bobby Lashley gets eliminated by Braun Strowman, and Robert, you said this made you sad?
Well,
Why?
first of all, I had picked Bryan Strowman and Lashley to be the bottom 3, and I had picked Lashley to win the whole thing. But that elimination to me kind of made it seem like, all right, maybe Lashley's not going to be a big deal because he got tossed out rather simply. You know what I mean?
Well, we were doing the predictions, and we had all 3 for those. Callum, you picked Daniel Bryan, right?
Yep.
And I picked Strowman, I think?
Yes, you did.
Haha. That crystal ball sitting on that nice and tight. Chris Jericho then gets eliminated by Braun Strowman. Jericho did not look all that great here.
Yeah, he looked like shit.
I really hate how he had long hair, but he didn't have the long trunks, and he was still rolling with the underwear, because I hate underwear Chris Jericho the most.
Although kudos to Kevin Owens for saying, "Why are you here? Go back to Japan. Leave me alone. Just leave me alone."
It's like, I'm moving on with my life. Listen, Chris Jericho is really that ex-girlfriend that doesn't quite get over him. That's how Kevin Owens views the situation.
You could tell that Jericho was just there to pick up a paycheck.
Yeah. This didn't mean anything to him.
No.
Should have been in the Undertaker match.
Yeah, it probably would have been more entertaining.
Do you think they didn't do that because Chris Jericho really isn't a heel right now?
I think they
Jericho
just
isn't
don't know
anything
what
anymore.
the fuck they're doing.
I think that they were just sort of like, let's Rusev, he's getting a reaction, let's have him get sacrificed to the Undertaker. And then somebody said, well, wouldn't it be better to have like a Chris Jericho? They were like, yeah, let's get Chris Jericho, he's doing that. And then somebody else said, let's just get Rusev back. And I don't think that they care.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens gets eliminated by Braun Strowman, and then we're down to the final three, and it's Braun Strowman, Daniel Bryan, and Big Cass, which sort of telegraphs already, there goes Daniel Bryan. Like, he has to get eliminated by Big Cass at that point, you know? The only other way around that would have been if Big Cass is the one that eliminates Braun Strowman, and then Daniel Bryan gets a quick elimination of Big Cass, and that pisses off Big Cass even more.
You know,
but those two were intrinsically tied to each other.
The depressing thing looking at that is the situation where you see Big Cass eliminate Daniel Bryan, and then in my mind, I'm thinking, well, SmackDown has AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Samoa Joe, Daniel Bryan, Randy Orton, Jeff Hardy, and
they're going with Big Cass.
And Big Cass is going to hold the WWE Championship at some point this year.
I don't think so.
It really
they're pushing him super hard.
It really speaks to that Vince McMahonism of, well, by God, he's 7 foot tall and he's got the size. Like, that's why I always thought it was funny, because I thought that was a line specifically given to Enzo. The whole, and he's 7 foot tall and you can't teach that, because that's basically what Cass is. Well, look at him, he's huge. And to see him eliminate Bryan and in the bottom two of a Royal Rumble, granted, an inconsequential Royal Rumble, but a Royal Rumble nonetheless, when you just had Bryan break the record for the longest ever in a Rumble, that could have easily been Bryan's night. I mean, my God.
I didn't
Well, see, I
want it,
kind
though.
of think... Yeah, I mean, like, I kind of think that they had their cake and they ate it, too. Daniel Bryan broke a record. He's the longest single time frame Iron Man, and he certainly doesn't look bad.
They broke a lot of records for such an inconsequential Royal Rumble.
Well, they had to make it mean something.
Plus, on top of that, if Daniel Bryan just goes straight to winning everything, who's to say people don't just go, oh my God, ever since Daniel Bryan came back, all they do is fucking make him win everything, because people do that.
Well, how
people don't do
crazy
that
is it? Go ahead, Cal.
People don't do that for Daniel Bryan because they actually like Daniel Bryan. Whereas if you did that for Roman Reigns, they'd turn against it because they don't like Roman Reigns.
And how crazy is it? And they made reference to this on commentary, but it's like 2 months ago, Bryan wrestling was literally a pipe dream. And now he's number one in a 50-man Royal Rumble and goes the distance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
An hour and 16 minutes and how many seconds? Have the record up here in just a second. 1:16:05. So that beats out the previous time, which was Rey Mysterio's, and that was 1:02:12. Although now we have to calculate how long Rey Mysterio was in this and add that to his previous time and the cumulative time for him and Chris Jericho, because they're kind of, Jericho at this point, he's still number one for sure. And
I just would say, like, the idea of like just giving one person all of the wins in situations, like, go back to the time when Steve Austin was on top of the thing. Like, he won 3 Royal Rumbles in a 5-year span. He was WWE champion 6 times in that span as well. It's like, if it's the top guy and they're actually the crowd are behind him, they don't care how much he wins. They want him to win all the time.
Can I tell you something funny about the Steve Austin winning 3 Royal Rumbles?
I don't know. It might be funny. Might not be.
When I was
subjective.
When I was a kid, WWE made it seem like that he won back to back Royal Rumbles whenever they talked about it. So I thought it was a way bigger deal when I was younger that he won 3 Royal Rumbles.
Well, he almost did. He was the bottom 2 in the 99 one.
He essentially won 4 Royal Rumbles.
I know. I'm just saying that they made it seem like he was like back to back, and I thought Steve Austin was like the greatest of all time for like a 5-year span because of that.
Well,
it's also because they wanted to get rid of the narrative that Hulk Hogan had been the best before that.
Hey, also, shout out to Michael Cole for not mentioning Chris Benoit whenever he brought up all the number 1s and 2s out. I get that one from the Rumble, which I get why. Well,
it's just a given at this point, unfortunately.
I just want him to throw a curveball and accidentally say it one of these times.
They're gonna do it. They're gonna slip it in there one day, and it's gonna kind of become like, okay, we can say his name, and it won't seem like you're glorifying.
That's 100% never gonna happen.
I'm sure it's gonna slip out one time. Somebody's gonna go.
It's gonna be like, and Chris
And Steve.
Two people have won from the number one spot. One of them Shawn Michaels, and the other one
We cannot say. Moving on.
not
and one
Shawn.
one
Yeah,
is
one's
Shawn and
redacted.
the other one is Shawn Michaels, and the other killed his family. Back to you.
That's one of the reasons.
God, I would bust out laughing.
surprised. That's one of the reasons I'm surprised they haven't given it to anyone at the number one spot yet, just to erase that. Like, you can say somebody else other than Shawn, because you always go, 2 men have won from this spot, and you show Shawn, and then it's like, well, who was the other one? Like, for somebody who might not know.
They now
look-
say from the 1 or 2 spot to get around that, and that's the only thing I could think of for why that they would say that.
And that's the point. Like, you don't want people to think who the other person was.
I mean, they could. I really am curious what it's like to be a WWE fan after that incident, especially like if you became a fan in the past few years. So one of these younger kids, I wonder how much they know about Chris Benoit, and I wonder how much newer fans know about this situation and how fucking crazy it was to be a WWE fan or a wrestling fan in 2007.
The funny thing is, they probably don't. It's probably just like, okay, so who is this guy? You know, and why did he main event WrestleMania if I never hear about him?
I wonder how many people ask the question. What they mentioned like 4 people, and then they only say 3 names. So I wonder how many of those people go, "Who's the 4th person? Why didn't they mention the 4th person?" I wonder if
Well,
there's
then they
anyone
just
like that.
Google it, and then you find a million articles of Chris Benoit.
I think that person is down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole.
Oh yeah, no. If you look at Chris Benoit and the first thing you don't watch is WrestleMania 20 main event, and the first thing you click on is the story about him, then yeah, of course you're gonna fall into the conspiracy theory lane. But I mean, can I just say how crazy it'd be if you like go back and watch WrestleMania 20 main event now and be like, oh man, Chris Benoit is so good. Like that was an incredible match. What is he up to now?
I don't see much activity from him. Yeah.
His Twitter's been fucking dead for a while. I wonder what's happening.
Well, you
There's
never would've
something
had a
about him
Twitter.
being on some kind of promotion
fake
for
ones now.
chips.
You never would have had a Twitter. I don't think Twitter was around by the time you died.
Listen,
anymore.
there's some fake Twitter accounts that act like they're the real deal. I
Oh,
remember.
yeah, 'cause people
I
are shitty.
remember back in like 2012 to 2013 when around WrestleMania there was some guy who would pose as Mark Calloway and he would post some stuff on Twitter and 1 year it actually happened. So people started thinking like, oh, that's the actual Undertaker. He just acts like it's not him.
And let me
Holy
just say real quick to just cap that. I'm surprised WWE hasn't like assigned some kind of Undertaker social media just to stop all the fakes.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm glad they didn't because that would be fucking lame if the Undertaker had. Like, I think it's lame that TNA had Sting with the Twitter account, even though he never actually used it. Like, do you actually think Sting knows how to fucking use Twitter?
Kennedy.
I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, so this ends up with Braun Strowman in the ring. He celebrating with his championship that I'm sure he's not going to really carry around, and his trophy, which I'm sure he's not going to carry around. There's an awkward little moment where being presented the title, the guy just kind of plays a little bit like, I'm going to take it from you. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah.
Again, they're just having fun. It was so inconsequential.
They were going, we have the paycheck, don't forget.
Right. It kind of came off to me as just sort of like, you fucking monkey dance. And I was just sort of like,
damn,
man, that'd be so, like, that would be so great if Braun would have just picked him up and chucked him into the ground. That would have been amazing. You know, just Braun and just throw him out. I fucking make sure this country gets these hands. Like one of those kind of things. But I'm really glad that Braun Strowman won here. He needed to, man, because he has not won anything.
Right, but
He's
what
so
do they
bad.
do with him now, though? Like, Money in the Bank is next. Are we really going to do that whole stupid thing where Braun is the big man in the ladder match? I really don't want to see that. Brock Lesnar might not be around except to lose to the next guy at SummerSlam, and if it's not Strowman, you know, what happens here with him?
Hopefully he beats Brock Lesnar for the title.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I see, but envision it happening. I think in the meantime, a feud with Bobby Lashley seems like it's on the horizon. Just because the amount of teasing they did in the Rumble themselves, like the big man versus the big man, they seem to be on some sort of an even footing.
I really
Yeah,
think that if
I'm
they're
assuming
not
that.
in the, well, actually, Extreme Rules is after Money in the Bank. They might end up in that. Hey, it's an Extreme Rules #1
Ambulance
contenders
match.
match.
Ambulance
No
match.
ambulance. No ambulance.
Why not?
Because
Just
we don't need to
thing.
see Braun flip a vehicle again.
Because it
is
lost the
his
Smark Madness
thing.
tournament.
What ended up winning the Smark Madness tournament?
Oh, freaking Royal Rumble.
Yeah, the most obvious choice.
Man, that's it's riveting. I was really hoping it was a stairs match.
This was before this Royal Rumble was seen. Maybe if this Royal Rumble had happened, people would have changed their minds.
Listen, the real question after everything is said and done, was this the greatest Royal Rumble?
No,
Hell no.
Not even close.
Listen,
I didn't even
think
see it,
was.
but no.
I will say that it was better than the one earlier this year.
No.
I'll say it was fun.
I
Like,
think it was,
I had a lot of fun watching it.
I enjoyed this a lot.
I think
Go ahead,
Any-
Cal.
Anything, yeah, everything from the Titus O'Neil moment onwards, I thought was better than anything in the 2018
yeah,
Royal Rumble.
I agree
thought-
with that.
It just felt fun and exciting. But unfortunately, before that, you had to go through 35 people that were just essentially no hopers, just people that are filling your roster as opposed to like decent, like big stars.
That was the only unfortunate part about it. But I do agree. The last like 20-25 minutes was really, really fun. And for like the dead middle part that we usually get, it wasn't as bad as some Royal Rumbles. There was a year where Bray Wyatt had a big part where he would just dominate the middle of a Rumble, and that
fun.
I actually was about to say that was really boring. But
That
it-
was
I
the
thought it was
Rumble
fun.
of Death where Roman. That was the first time Roman won, right? And he ended up
Yeah.
with The Rock's help. Yeah, that was a bad Rumble.
In Philadelphia, yeah.
Also
I
known as
didn't dig that all that much.
That's also known as the worst Royal Rumble to go against the greatest Royal Rumble here.
Absolutely.
But
I think I have like a curse for events that I go to.
yeah, it sounds like it.
WrestleMania 29, 2015 Royal Rumble.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to WrestleMania next year, Tony.
Do you
Yeah,
not?
are you going?
You don't go to the
Get off track.
SummerSlams?
I better be going to WrestleMania next year. I'm planning on it. And if I buy a ticket and then we immediately afterward hear like, all right, well, the match for next year's WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns, I'll be like, son of a bitch.
Listen, it would only get better if The Rock and Cena come back enough thrice in a lifetime.
Well, it's Jersey, so it could very well just snow, and you could watch it in the snow. So that's awesome.
You know, I want to get tickets to this Mania because I really want to go to WrestleMania, but I don't know how you're gonna fucking convince me to go to WrestleMania in New Jersey after how cold it was last time.
Yeah.
That's the issue. Because I told myself I'd go to New Orleans or Orlando, and I couldn't even convince myself to do that. So I don't know how I'm gonna convince myself to go to New Jersey.
It's gonna
Yeah, I
like
think-
it could be gorgeous, or it could be snowing.
I didn't know that there was such a thing as being gorgeous in New Jersey.
Oh, shut up!
There's not.
I'm there.
Stop.
Hey, listen, I'm from the Middle East. Or not the Middle East. I'm from the
From the middle.
No, I watched this pay-per-view that was in the Middle East. No, I'm from Indiana, so I just talk shit about the East Coast all day. It's fine.
That's funny that you said you're from the Middle East because I was saying earlier, I was like to a friend of mine, I'm like, oh, I got to do this pay-per-view from Saudi Arabia. And then I was like,
I'm not.
I'm not reporting from Saudi Arabia. I'm like, you know, but Drew's from the Middle East. I didn't know that.
Well,
That's
there's
a different story.
there's a few people who thought I was Middle Eastern.
I mean, I thought you were Drew Tan for a while instead of Drew White.
Some people think that. Yeah,
That what?
that.
Oh, that.
That.
They were leading to something else.
No, just that.
All right, so
Yeah.
Braun won the greatest, not so great Royal Rumble. I'm guessing now we go to something with him at SummerSlam. I still don't see him fighting Lesnar, just because I think they're dead set on that Bobby Lashley match. But I do want to see him actually beat Brock and maybe actually validate a star of this era.
I'm assuming nothing comes out of this for the most part. And on Monday night, they just go, hey, look at that. Braun Strowman won. By the way, he doesn't have a match for Backlash.
Can we get
Yeah, I
through
agree.
Backlash already so we can just like get some
Take
structure?
a fucking breath.
Can we have some decorum? Where's my gavel? We need decorum.
I got a mallet, not a gavel, though. Callbacks. Stupid ass joke. Yeah, so that was the quote-unquote greatest Royal Rumble. Totally subjective. Who knows if it's the greatest? At least it was the biggest.
Mhm.
And if you enjoyed it and you disagree with what we were saying about a lot of it, then explain why. You know, it's good that you liked it.
I mean, I know like a lot of us have gone just, like a few bits and pieces about saying like, "Oh, this wasn't so great." There, I think overall, I'd give it if I was to go either it has to be good or it has to be bad. I'd err to the water side of good as an overall show.
For the show itself.
Yeah, I think it was structured well. I know the matches were a bit like bland as you would see in a house show match, but I think the everything made sense. All the results made sense. You at least got to see a bit of action throughout it, and I thought the Greatest Royal Rumble was like obviously not the greatest Royal Rumble, but it was good enough to keep my attention throughout, which I was thought it would struggle with considering the fact there was like 50 men involved in it. But I thought it was good.
Well, it's the opposite of Mania for me, because with Mania, I went in expecting paint by numbers, Roman wins, just very basic things. Here, after the couple of weeks we've had, I was expecting a lot of title changes and a lot of just chaos to kind of keep that wave going, and I just was very underwhelmed, I think, because I was expecting at least one title change.
We did. Bacon lost the title.
Yeah.
That's sad when Bacon loses his title because you know it's always going to happen.
First of all, it wasn't vacant. It was held in abeyance. Vacant doesn't get the championships anymore. They just hold them
down the line.
They just hold them in abeyance.
Listen, I don't know if Vacant is going to win these titles down the line, but I definitely see him winning a title down the line.
Someone. And we'll be staying tuned for that, and you'll find that stuff on smarkatmoment.com when it happens. But that pretty much rules us out for this talk. So the one thing that we have to do left is to just kind of go around the table one more time, the table that doesn't exist, but the Skype table, and give everybody a little chance to just plug anything they want to plug. So Drew, I'm going to start off with you. What are you going to toss out there?
You can follow me on the Twitter machine at Rusev. It's like that on the Instagram as well. Go to Mick Frickin' Duncan on YouTube, where you can subscribe to a whole channel of nothing, which is riveting in so many ways, shapes, and forms. So do that, please. 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 Wait, you don't.
You sounded just like that song in Ghostbusters for a second.
That's incredible.
Callum?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Wigmeister14. And just check out some great new articles on smarkoutmoment.com because there's a lot of
Jordan?
them.
You can get me on Twitter at _LikeJordan_. The underscores are there because someone took Like Jordan and their name isn't even Jordan. Very upset about it.
Probably a Michael Jordan reference.
It is. That was the joke, but their name wasn't Jordan. Like, my name's Jordan.
What is their name? Do you know? Because you could take whatever like their name is.
I don't remember, but I remember trying to change it and being very upset. And I do like all of the triple threats these days because I'm home on leave, so I have a lot of time, so you can read my opinions on triple threat.
And Robert, round us out.
Fuck social media right now. That's how I'm feeling. Smarkoutmoment.com. This is where I'll pretty much be for the foreseeable future because I don't have to worry about plugging anything, and that's what Tony's here for. You can find me on the triple threats as well. I think I headed this one about the Greatest Royal Rumble. The next one will likely be a Greatest Royal Rumble recap / backlash predictions, and buy a t-shirt on tpublic.com/smarkoutmoment.
Yes, indeed. We still have those up and possibly more coming in a little bit. I'm talking to TeePublic about some coupons and stuff. We're going to try to sort that out. So maybe even some special deals more than the normal one coming up. So stay tuned to that. You can find a link to the Redbubble and the TeePublic on the little menu part of smarkoutmoment.com. You can find pretty much everything on smarkoutmoment.com. That's kind of the point of a website. And if you are not following us all over the place, you can follow us at Fanboys Anonymous. That's how that fucking works. That shows how tired I am. You can follow all the Smark Out Moment stuff at Fanboys Anonymous. At Smark Out Moment on Facebook and Twitter. You could also subscribe to us on YouTube and ring the bell for notifications to be aware of the next things that we're going to be posting, which is going to be, of course, the hot tags coming up next. And then we're going to have the predictions and the post show for Backlash 2018. And then it's all up in the air for a little bit. Because then we got to figure out some other stuff, and it's not just pay-per-view coverage. Unless a couple days from now, Monday and Tuesday roll along, they go, well, you know, if you're really digging this whole Backlash thing, in 2 weeks we're having the fucking Great Balls of Fire up your ass.
The greatest Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah. Just, I hope it's not the case, but
the
all that stuff's coming your way on YouTube. If you are not on YouTube, we've got the iTunes and the Stitcher and stuff like that, and you can find them at the Facebook and Twitter I mentioned earlier. And I did mention Fanboys Anonymous earlier because Infinity War came out yesterday. I've got a review up of that, just basically geeking out and going, that was awesome. So if you want to check that out too. And anything else, Tony Mango, A Mango Tree, and blah, 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 blah. You know the score by now. So thank you for listening to this, everybody. One more reminder to leave your comments below and tell us what you thought about this. Like the video and share it around. And we will see you when we see you. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.